Hey, Olivia, Wimkin might be going under DDoS. Sorry, folks. We're trying to figure out Wimkin right now, so we're ghosted. Not much of a pre-show. Wimkin is dark. Checking the settings. It says we're streaming. Let's just hope it comes on. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show, folks. Matt and Leroy are in the house tonight with a very special guest who will tell you all about sitting in the green room. Got a good one planned tonight. We've got a lot to talk about. We'll spend about an hour or so with Ken, unless Ken wants to stay longer. That's up to him. If he leaves, it means he hated it. If he stays, it means he loved it. So no pressure at all for him, for sure. Leroy is powdering his nose. That's why we're a couple minutes late. We apologize. We will start with the reading of our guest, something that we kind of do on this show. We'll go into Marjorie Taylor Greene, Benny Johnson getting his own room at the Capitol building. Well, I guess he doesn't have to steal my set anymore. Yeah. Benny Johnson getting his own room.
What is the world coming to?
It must be nice. Must be nice. I mean, jeez. I mean, I'm not jealous or anything. I mean, maybe a little bit. But anyway, he had, like, I don't know, Mike Lee on, and he had Johnson on, and Marjorie Taylor, and Boebert. I mean, he literally just did a powerhouse. You know, all right, I'm jealous. I'm just a little jealous. Whatever.
I get it.
Whatever. I have better muscles. That's all I'm going to say. I'm older, too. I got like 20 years on him, and I guarantee I can outbench the kid. I promise. Moving on, we've got a whole bunch of other stuff. We'll do it together. Wimkin, I'm sorry, folks. If Olivia would do me a favor and please let everybody on Wimkin know that we're live on all other channels. I hate to do it, but they went dark last night. I don't know what's going on. I'll reach out to Jason. So I'm very sorry to my Wimkin people. But let's get this shared. Let's rock and roll. It's going to be a good night. All about the Constitution, all about immigration, and all about Texas. Let's go.
Twins here. Check out our friend Matthew Spirit at his podcast at The Dumb Show and his website, don'tunfriendme.com. Yeah.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, and Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree, Just don't unfriend me.
Hey, if all the moderators would do me a favor out on Wimkin land, let them know. I just made a post and told them, hey, we're not able to get connected. I'm not sure. We're reaching out to Jason, CEO of Wimkin. They are our super sponsor, gold sponsor. We love them to death. So if you haven't had a chance, go over to wimkin.com and create yourself an account. But not right now because we're not streaming and it's not important. Stay here. We have a very special guest. Usually, I gotta do this. I've got to get Leroy in here so it feels like he's involved. There he is. See, and we'll put him in his chair.
Much gooder. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. We'll put you in your chair. I'm going to go ahead and do ratio to proportion of how much bigger I am than you. From my outside.
That's about right. Yeah,
that's pretty good. Your head.
Call it 70-30. I'm like an Oompa Loompa, really.
Dude, that actually looks like you're sitting in the show, bro. Look at that. That doesn't get much better.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. You look great. All right. So listen, we have a very special guest. I want to get to it. We have about an hour together, but I'm hoping that we can spend a little bit longer. We'll see. If Lady Justice had this is the honorary reading. We do this with every guest, and Ken is no exception, and we're doing it now. If Lady Justice had a toolbox, Ken W. Good. What? Okay. Tell him tell as long as he writes the check, I don't care. No, as long as he paid me, I don't care. Jason says Wimkin's going to be down for at least till tomorrow. So if you have not had a chance, scoot over. And I got my check, so I'm good. So we're fine. Just kidding. One more time, the third time is the charm. If Lady Justice had a toolbox, Ken W. Good would be the guy who forged half the tools and rewrote the instruction manual. He's not a theorist in a tweed coat or some finger-waggling cable news lawyer. He's a Texas bail attorney with rolled-up sleeves, a deep respect for the law, and just enough grit to piss off the reform crowd. Ken earned his BA at Hardin-Simmons, followed by a master's from Tarleton, I think it's how you say it, State, and eventually, because apparently sleep is optional, a law degree from Texas Tech, where he landed a spot on the law review. That was back in the 80s when word processors were the size of microwaves and bail reform wasn't a political buzzword. Since then, Ken's argued cases in front of the Texas Supreme Court, the Court of Criminal Appeals, and even the Fifth Circuit. He's not afraid of a courtroom, but where he really shines is in the gray area between the law and what it says and what people think it says. He wrote the book on it, Goods on Bail, which now sits on the desk of bondsmen, judges, and more than a few state reps trying not to look lost. As a board member of the Professional Bondsmen of Texas, Ken's became the guy legislators call when the reforms they promise voters start releasing. Let's try that again because I just butchered my own sentence. Ken's become the guy legislators call when the reformers they promised voters start releasing career criminals back onto the street. He doesn't gloat. He just calmly explains what happens when you trade accountability for slogans and then sits back while the headlines write themselves. He's been on every podcast and talk show that still values facts over feelings. He doesn't yell. He doesn't posture. He teaches with case law and real data and a voice that could talk a pit bull off a meat truck. But here's the part they don't always mention. Ken's also a father, a proud girl dad. One of his daughters survived a bone marrow transplant as a child, and that changes the man.
Wow.
Makes him see justice not as some abstract idea, but as something personal, real, and fragile. Ken W. Good is living proof that you can be tough and tender, logical and loyal, grounded in law, and still deeply human. In a world full of noise, he's a rare signal. A man who didn't just study justice, he showed up for it. And he's still showing up every damn day, and we are so excited that he showed up to our show. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to a new friend of the show, Ken W. Good from Texas. Ken, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that very generous introduction.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for mentioning my daughter. I have two daughters. She is now 20. She's my youngest. She was 5 when she had a bone marrow transplant.
It's incredible. What as a parent, I can't imagine. I mean, 5 years old, you think that maybe at a very young age, 1 or 2, something might come about medically. And then, you get through the teenage years and then they get into a car. But at 5, you kind of maybe think that you might be a little safe. How did you traverse that and tell us a little bit about it?
She was born with a very rare condition called TAR syndrome. So she doesn't make platelets and she's missing the weight bearing bone in both of her forearms. So We knew something was wrong at her 21-week sonogram. We did a level 2. We confirmed it. We were told we had 2 weeks to decide whether to abort. We're very religious people, so we went to counseling to prepare for her delivery. And with TAR syndrome children, they're supposed to have platelet issues for the first year, and then they just get better. They may not be normal, but they have a lot more platelets. She didn't have a problem her first year. Somewhere around year 4, she just started trailing down, and so year 5, they said we'd need to have a bone marrow transplant. I had to go back to counseling to prepare for that. I kept a blog for it. And, probably the hardest thing for a dad is there's nothing I could do. I mean, we had a donor off of the Be the Match program.
Mm-hmm.
None of us were a match. And so I had to rely upon the generosity of a complete stranger to provide the most precious gift to my daughter, which was life. Her platelets are today normal. She still has she still has arm issues, but she's a junior in college. She is a gamer, which I don't know if I like, but she's a gamer and she's going to college to study that. And I don't think anybody's getting a job on that right now, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And she works for me part-time, and we have been forever changed because of her, and we love her to death.
Well, truly blessed. What an amazing, amazing story. Trials and tribulations, they kind of define us, don't they? Folks, donations are held off because what we never want to do is make our guests feel that we're raising money off of them. So if you want to donate to the show, you can do that as usual, but we'll hold off announcing them until after Ken leaves or we kick him out, one of the two. But I heard he's religious, so we're going to be on our best behavior. I wanted to start it off with Texas. Now, Texas is considered to be its own independent country, not just by the rest of the country, but by Texans. And as a Texan, I like to think that we don't just go to a different beat. We set the drum ourselves and set the beat ourselves. What do you think when it comes to law inside Texas is different than the other 49 states in this union? And is it different, or is there something special that you have to learn on how to kind of present your cases or the way that you overall carry yourself in Texas? And this is a loaded question. I know you know the answer, so I'll just give it to you. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I've always had a problem with I need to be more shy. I'm not shy. I don't drink, but there's a reason why I don't drink. I can get in trouble stone cold sober.
Yeah.
Drinking absolutely guarantees it. And also, I'm older. I mean, I've always been older than I look. I mean, I graduated from law school at 29. I went to Vegas to celebrate, and they tried to kick me off the gambling floor because they thought I was under 18. So that was 30-something years ago. And so, I mean, I hate it when I do a podcast. People are like, well, you're so young. And I'm like, oh, I don't like to play the game of who's older.
Yeah.
Because I always am the one that's older. I'm 64 years old.
Yeah, you don't
Wow.
look
Don't look it.
I don't color my hair. I don't do anything. I just am very lucky genetically.
Asian,
but,
right?
Yeah, no.
Where's the history? Where's the bloodline from? Because
I mean, look, one of Benjamin Franklin's brothers is one of my great grandfathers. So two different sides of my family go all the way back to the American Revolution. So we're just Texas. I mean, we're just United States born and bred, been here all of our lives, and I just have some lucky genes. That's really it. I mean,
the flowing locks.
Yeah,
right.
I've kind of let my hair grow out because I think this is my last chance. It is slowly turning white, as you can tell.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, this is my last chance before it all falls out.
Yeah.
But in Texas has always been a conservative state, even when it was a Democrat state. And so so now that we're Republican, it's just that the Democrats didn't have any room for us anymore. But I think the thing that kind of differentiates or makes Texas stand out from other places is we are all about local control. I mean, especially in the bail, front. I mean, we have bail bond boards at the county level, and in the smaller counties, the sheriff runs the whole program. And, we've had some talk about changing the way bail's regulated to make it a statewide. That's never going to happen in Texas because ever since Texas became a state, even before then, we've had local control, and the judges, I mean, the sheriffs and the small counties and the boards in the counties above 110,000 are never going to give up local control. So I think that's a big difference.
So I know Leroy probably has questions too. So bail reform, New York, Chicago are seeing double-digit increases in crime now with bail reform. And that implementation is having a massive impact. So how do you separate compassion, which is what Democrats call it, versus the chaos that compassion ultimately creates? Because law is supposed to be blind, justice is supposed to be blind, and when you implement equity and inclusion and diversity and all that other crap to it, it really muddies the water. So how do we help these states that are completely just cutting their own throat see this?
I think it's very clear now that diversity, equity, inclusion, all that is just code words for put up with more crime.
yeah,
I mean,
that's fair.
I mean, we're gonna grade crime on a scale, and so the lesson is we have to put up with more crime. And who does that hurt? The very minority communities, they get hurt the most of the people they're saying they want to help. This, New York is a great example. They've implemented bail reform, and they did it in the name of we want to protect the poor. But when they do set up those policies, they tie the hands of judges so that they have no discretion, so they can't even address organized crime, career criminals, or gangs in the name of helping the poor. And we're seeing the consequences of that. We know how to fight crime. We know what to do, but we're having police officers and judges, we're seeing their hands tied behind their back so that they can't do what they know to do to defeat crime. And then probably on top of that, we're in those areas where they've, the Democrats have gone through years where they've created a mob, right around election time to say, oh, you're being mistreated. And so you need to get angry and come out and vote in larger numbers for us. And that's what got them elected. Well, now they're losing control over the mobs because as soon as the election was over, they went back to the status quo. Now the mob's are mad at them in their election that they're electing the true believers, the crazy people who, who swallowed or drank the Kool-Aid. And so now they're the ones that's, that are advocating these policies that don't make sense, that they know don't work, but it's all politics at this point.
Quick one, and then Leroy's. Progressive DAs and these politicized judges. Now, I'm not going to sit here. I'm not dumb. I understand that there are conservative judges out there, and they make decisions all the time. We've seen some things that are literally unconstitutional that has been done in Alabama and other states that are more conservative leaning, and they've been struck down by the state Supreme Court. Okay, fine. But this is a little bit different. This is when you have prosecutors not prosecuting crime and actually trying to fudge the numbers. So is there a way to impact these cities like Chicago, like New York, like California that are running these progressive DAs and these politicized judges? Or is it literally to a point that this is going to be generational change? Or is there a faster solution, do you think?
Okay, so first of all, it's very, very organized. I mean, George Soros, he's not just the boogeyman. He has this whole network. And they have 4 different groups. They have the groups that recruit soft on crime candidates, and then give them a whole bunch of money, and they get 4 times the money that any of these races have ever spent before, and they're focusing on deep blue areas, so all they got to do is win the primary. And then once they're elected, they're invited to seminars, forums, where they're given, here's your packet of, here's the policies we expect you to enact, quid pro quo. And then they have the third group that issues all these research papers, studies that say implementing these policies, it will not increase crime. And then they have this fourth group that tells them how to sell it to the voters. They've been very successful, but it's now come out. I mean, the shelf life on one of these DAs is 1 or 2 terms, and they either get recalled or defeated. And the good news is that the next candidate is usually a strong on crime DA, even if it's in a Democrat area. Look at the Gascon just got defeated.
Right.
He got embarrassed defeated, and his replacement is a strong opponent to crime DA.
Well, hopefully Beto O'Rourke will run again because we definitely need someone of his caliber in office. Well, we have Dan Crenshaw. That's kind of close. And listen, Dan, you deserve it. I defended you for years, buddy. You're a team guy. We love you, but come on, man. Some of the stuff you're doing. Real quick, I hate to do this, Ken, but we are an interactive show and we have comments from the crowd. And it's important when people spread things that aren't necessarily true. Amber over on YouTube, you're saying that the Republicans struck down the Epstein case release. First of all, this isn't true. There's two reasons. There was a procedural vote, and a procedural vote is a very dangerous thing. And I'll explain it why in just a few minutes. And the second thing is that it was attached to a cryptocurrency over-regulation bill, and it was snuck in by Mo Kahana. And it was just a ruse to go ahead and put the vote on the floor and make Republicans look bad. And you bought it hook, line, and sinker. So congratulations on that. And you can take a picture with your booby prize. But stop spreading stuff like this because you're wrong. And that's why you come to this show, is to learn those things. So naughty, naughty, stop spamming the chat. Leroy, do you have some questions for Ken?
I do. I was listening to everything you say. I take notes as I go. And
I saw you writing.
Yeah.
He does a lot of that.
Question. Does when we're talking about bail reform in Texas versus, say, some of the other bluer states, New York, California, what do you see as the most harmful policies by comparison that has been enacted in those states, and what would you like to see changed?
Good question.
Well, Texas has gone the opposite. Texas has gone the opposite direction of these soft on crime states. They have strengthened the criminal justice system and strengthened accountability. So they've gone the opposite direction. We've done it twice now. We just entered or passed a package in this session that just ended in June, and we'll have something on the ballot, a constitutional amendment, and then we did something 2 sessions ago. So what the people in the other areas are doing, they're enacting what I call simple release mechanisms. So like in California, it's mandating release without bail or release on zero bail. So you're just being released on your promise, and there's no financial incentive. I mean, there's no financial penalty if you don't come back. And then in New York, they call it release on no bail. And so what they do is they enact a list of crimes that say, if you're charged with one of these crimes, you will be released on simple release, no matter whatever they call it in their state. And the problem with that is there's no accountability, and it's a release. It's a charge-based release mechanism system. So no matter how many times you commit that crime, you get the same release. So judges can't say, you're a career criminal, so I'm not going to release you on simple release. I'm going to hold you, or I'm going to increase your bail. You can't do that in that system because the statute says if you're charged with this, this is what you get. And that's how we tie the hands of judges so that they, in the name of protecting the poor, but prevents them from being able to address career criminals, organized crime, or gangs, and those groups figure out ways to make millions of dollars off of this. I mean, one of the things that Gascon's group requires is you will not do enhancements like on drug charges. So if you're the drug dealer and they catch you with 20 pounds of meth, you would go to jail for 20 years because of the enhancements. But because of the Soros policies, they no longer seek enhancements. So you just get 2 weeks like a regular drug user. And, drug dealers, that's just a cost of doing business. They don't care about that. I mean, 2 weeks, yeah, let's go back to, I'll see you in 2 weeks. I get a vacation. I mean, it's that kind of short-sighted with these little feel-good things that they, are selling that are actually doing great harm because criminals see that as a green light to commit more crime.
It's almost like it's unintended consequences for trying to sell a voter on, hey, we're going to make things more fair for everyone.
I agree. Originally, I would have agreed with you. But over time, as it has shown that it's a huge failure, these same politicians won't come in and say, okay, it didn't work, so let's try something else.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
I mean, we even have data now. We have the Yolo County DA in California kept all of his data during COVID, and he compared someone released on simple release mechanism, which is just your promise, versus someone released on a surety bond, and similar charges, nonviolent offenses. Someone released on simple release had a 200% greater chance of committing a violent offense, a new violent offense in the next 18 months versus somebody released on a private surety bond. And I think the difference is the involvement of family. These people are, I like to say they're lost children, they're problem children. But when you have somebody in your family standing up for you and saying, I still think you have a chance, you can turn this around, I still believe in you. I mean, that's worth its weight in gold.
It's a really interesting point that you made in regards to politicians, not coming back and saying, listen, we tried this. Here's what we found. Here are the things we're going to keep. Here are the things, because that's how supposedly, the bread is made. But there is a risk assessment that has to be done on one's own policies. But it's interesting, instead of admitting that those things are failing, they're actually using artificial intelligence now to do risk assessment, and not have that personal touch of somebody sit down and review a case and actually identify the things that would either elevate or get assigned to the case at a higher level. And they're using this AI. So isn't this another form of exactly what you were just talking about, trying something like using artificial intelligence that's run by the tech elites? What does that mean for due process? And how do you feel about artificial intelligence doing the job of what a prosecutor should be doing?
Well, we've been using artificial intelligence or, these algorithms for after conviction for a while to tell the courts what services you need to turn yourself around. But it's a new thing that we've been doing risk assessments on whether you should be released using an algorithm. And all the large tech companies have come out with a joint statement saying they should not be used as a part of pretrial release. And the reason why is the algorithms, you know, are very good at predicting what groups think, but they're very bad at predicting what one person will do. And since they rely upon what the group does, there is a racial element to what the AI is predicting. And so it has that component, which has been heavily criticized. And I think all of the science on that says they should not be used anymore. But we still have the tech companies pushing them, or these
And naturally, Democrats
policy
want it.
advocates pushing.
Naturally, Democrats want it, right? Anything that they can. Well, it's not just that. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it is being pushed, and ultimately, things that we're using for AI for today would never have been considered 10 years ago. I mean, implanting Neuralink into somebody's brain, they would have considered that something Dr. Frankenstein 20 years ago. And now that they're using artificial models and things. And listen, AI has its place. I'm not saying it doesn't, but my point is when it's due process, it's always
Didn't
nice.
we have a movie on this where a movie was predicting who was going to commit crime? And there's a very fine line between these,
Right.
We're making a prediction on whether you're going to commit another crime, so we're going to release, or not going to commit a crime, so we're going to release you instead of hold you. And that's kind of crosses the line in my book.
I agree with you. 100%.
You know what? It's susceptible to politics because it's not transparent.
Well, we also don't know who's writing the code, right? And so if it's an amalgamation of thousands of opinion that aren't based in principle and law, and it's not precedent, well, it immediately contradicts itself for what law is supposed to be. Law is supposed to be blind. It's not supposed to be. It's a judicial process. It isn't some clairvoyant, voodoo magic through a magic 8-ball. So
yeah, but that's a good point because when governments like the state of New Jersey enacted a risk assessment, they were one of the first. And the problem is they later changed the law, which would have required the risk assessment to be reprogrammed, but they didn't have the money for that. And so anytime you change the law, if you're using an algorithm, then who's going to pay for the reprogramming of it? And a lot of times the advocacy groups, they don't want it changed. They didn't care if you changed the law or not. They don't want the algorithm changed because they're manipulating it. It's doing what they predict. And the biggest thing is, like Texas law requires you to take into consideration the severity of the crime they're accused of. Well, most risk assessments don't take into consideration the crime you're accused of because you haven't been found guilty.
Right.
And so they've just made a decision, well, we're not going to take into consideration that crime because you haven't been found guilty. And that's contrary to Texas law.
Interesting. Leroy. Oh, I got a quick one from an audience. I got a quick one from the audience. Is that okay, Leroy, so I can save you?
Yeah, go ahead.
While you think of another one. Do you know Dog the Bounty Hunter?
I do know him.
I had a feeling. How was your first interaction? I remember the first time I met Dog on Colfax in Colorado, and we were with Roger and Sheila was fixing our radiator for our Subaru, and she was a bail bonds person, and like most, they have secondary jobs. And Dog the Bounty Hunter walks in. Beth wasn't there at the time, and I just looked at him and I said, "Holy crap, who is this guy?" But can you give us our time the first time you met Dog?
Well, Dog is a bigger than life personality, probably as a result of his television show for now. I would say he's not, I think he would like to be the face of the bail industry. He's not, he's a recovery agent. So in Texas, bail bondsmen cannot recover their people. So they have to hire somebody to do that. And sometimes that's him. And that's I mean, that's enough. I mean, he's a big personality. I always say when you get a bondsman full of room, you got a room full of hot air. He would take that to the next level, and Beth would too. I mean, Beth passed away with cancer.
Yep, she did.
God bless her soul. But I mean, I'm telling you right now, if Beth didn't like you, she'd go for the juggler. If she didn't agree with you, she'd go for the juggler. And I'm surprised I'm still standing a couple
Yeah.
of times.
Yeah. He's a big dude. He's not, what I'm talking about is just stature, right? Not super tall,
Yeah.
but just he's a pretty big kid. The Bail Project, springing felons all over the country. What do you think about this? And are there so many high level things right now that the low hanging fruit are just being missed? But it is corrupt, man. I mean, you've got these projects.
Well, the Bail Project is an example of, one of many charitable bail funds.
Yeah, can you explain to everybody what it is so they understand real quick?
Sure. A charitable bail fund is a group that's raised money, and so they offer to pay the bail of someone who can't afford to bail. So they post usually cash bonds. So if your bond is $1,000, you could go to a bondsman and pay a premium, or you could just post cash for the whole $1,000. And a lot of times, or in some places like the Bail Project, they would just post the bond in cash for $1,000 to get people out. We've always had charitable bail funds in our history, but the problem is they've never had any money. It wasn't until the George Floyd, you can call them protests, you can call them riots, whatever they were, and then we had the vice president say, please give money to these charitable bail funds. We're going to need this money. We're going to be bonding out a lot of people, and they ended up bonding out nobody. And so suddenly these funds had tens of millions of dollars and nowhere to put it, because they had raised it to give it to bond out people that they ended up not having to bond out because the charges were all dropped. And so they found out very quickly that a lot of the rhetoric that they've been saying and repeating was just false. There's low-level people stuck in jail. That's why we need this money. Well, they found out that they're not, which is what we've been saying. So they started bonding out the people that no one else would bond out, which is the career criminals. And that's why they got themselves in a bunch of trouble. Indiana placed restrictions on what charitable bail funds can bond out, because they had some incidences of them bonding out career criminals and them doing what career criminals do. And they sued. So they limited them to only a certain size bond, and mostly misdemeanors would be what it would fall to. And they filed suit saying that statute was unconstitutional, and it was upheld on federally. And so I think that, and then what you said, the corruption, I mean, they just end up giving the majority of that money in salaries or buying properties, and then they have a short shelf life because they're not going to raise that kind of money again. And so you see like the Bail Project withdrawing from areas to not post bail because they're every year they have less money.
Do you think there's something that needs to be done on the federal level? They heard they upheld Indiana at the federal level, but do you think this is going to require national attention and legislation needs to be
The longer
created?
we go, the less money they're going to have. So, I mean,
It's kind of like BLM.
I think it's one of those things that fixes itself over time.
Yeah, usually these fly-by-nights, they pop up very quickly and then they go by the wayside. Corruption keeps up to them. But once again, I would rather have it be that we had systems in place that could catch them before they do the damage that they do, because let's face it, a lot of these places get inundated and saturated. So one other question I have for you, then I'm going to kick it over to Leroy. When you look at Donald Trump and what he's doing for immigration, what he's doing for the border, how would you rate him based? Because I've had a chance to listen to you on other podcasts.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, because I know how you rate Biden, but my audience doesn't, so let them know. So why don't you give me just your overall opinion on how President Trump is doing versus Joe Biden, and then how he stands on his own merit?
Okay, so let's start with, in 2016, I reluctantly voted for Trump. I wish he'd kept his mouth shut. He was pretending to be a politician. He wasn't doing it very good. Tick for tat. He just couldn't let anything go. 2020, I voted for Trump because I thought he was being mistreated. 2024, I would have crawled over broken glass to vote for Trump.
Most of us are in the same boat.
I like DeSantis, but it wasn't his time. It was Trump's time, and I was a Trump man the whole way. And I mean, I have a big client that was like, "No, I'm not," and I'm like, "I'm sorry, but it's Trump." Trump all the way.
Yep.
And I would say on the immigration issue, there are so many similarities between the immigration issue and criminal justice reform, bail reform, that it is incredible. And the biggest one is it's these same groups. If you Google immigration and crime, you're going to see all of these articles and all these studies from the same groups that do studies on criminal justice reform. And they're all going to say, illegal immigration does not increase crime. Just like they say bad bail reform does not increase crime. I mean, it's pseudoscience. And so we learned very quickly because Biden said we can't fix the border. We have to have a new bill. We can't do it without a bill. And so we found out that we didn't need a new bill. We needed a new president. And that's really the same on criminal justice reform, bail reform. We can get control of crime. We just have to let good cops do what good cops do, just like we have allowed good immigration reform policies to be enacted by those that are looking after what's best for the country. So 10 out of 10 for Trump, and I would say 12 out of 10. Trump's hit it out of the park on immigration and closing the border.
I love that you said that we don't need new legislation. That was Joe Biden's thing, right? We need just give me the money. Give me more money. Just pass the legislation.
Yeah,
it's typical.
Yeah, but when you looked at the bill was all just fake. It would have increased the number of people that came in. We have 0 people that are being released, caught and released right now. That would have required like 5,000 a day before we could close the border. I mean, it was just fake. I mean, it would have done the
86% of the
opposite
money
of
went
what
to
they
foreign
said
countries.
Intended. Yeah.
Yeah, foreign
It's
countries were
awful.
getting. We 16 different countries would have their borders enforced and walls enforced versus the United States. I'm with you, man. The bill was absolute crap.
Yeah.
Leroy, go ahead.
If there was like a policy that you felt at a federal level, even though Trump is in charge and even though the stars seem to be in alignment right now, if there was one policy that you could say that is detrimental to Texas right now, what would it be and in what way? Like, do you think that Texas law enforcement is in any way overpowered as opposed to the rights of the citizens? If you see what I'm saying.
Sure, I'm trying to think. I mean, I think a lot of states are being harmed with this ping pong ball of immigration enforcement. When we have Obama enforced immigration laws very good until his last year in office, and then
true.
suddenly stopped.
It's true.
And then we had Trump 1, and then Biden. I mean, Biden was sold to us as a moderate, and he's led as a far left liberal. And so he just quit enforcing anything to do with the border. So this ping pong ball where we are right now of enforcement, non-enforcement, the states can't do anything because it's the federal government's responsibility. I would love to see something that says if the federal government abrogates its responsibility to the border of a border state, the border state can step in and do the job that the federal government is not doing. Because one of the things in the big beautiful bill was a reimbursement to Texas for all the money that it spent doing the job that the federal government refused to do. And if I don't know if you realize this, but anything that Biden claimed on success at the border, it was only because of what Texas was doing.
Oh, yeah.
When he wouldn't. So he was claiming the success. He was lying that I'm having all this success about the border, and it's because what Texas was doing in spite of him.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
almost in defiance of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the greatest
crazy.
was the Supreme Court talking about the concertina wire, and they're like, no, you can't have that concertina wire. You have to take that down with no provision that you can just literally replace it with something else. So, I mean, you kind of knew that SCOTUS was going to come through. A lot of people were really, really hard on the transition between Biden and Trump on the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has knocked it out of the park. I mean, if people really
they really have.
Our Supreme
Absolutely
Court is
have.
fantastic. First of all, if you take a look at the last 100 years, we've had the Supreme Court for like 20% of the time, less than that, actually 19, not a full majority. So this is the first time, and Donald Trump did that. A lot of people forget. They talk about the Abraham Accords. They talk about the economy. They don't talk about what he did for generational change on SCOTUS. Can you tell us a little bit about, as a person who gets to see it from the purview of what you do every single day, how big, what were those nominations that he put on the bench?
Well, I mean, look at Gorsuch. He was the attorney general for Biden, and he was a political hack. he was scheduled to be, he was nominated. He was scheduled to be on the Supreme Court, and we can say we don't like McConnell all we want, but he held that up until Trump was elected. So,
You mean
but
Garland?
for Mitch, yeah, Garland, yeah, it's not
no,
Gorsuch,
Gorsuch.
Garland,
Listen,
yeah.
it started with a G. I get it. I just want to make sure.
You're right. No,
Merrick
I'm
Garland.
terrible at names. I would be a great name dropper if I could just remember names.
Dude, I'm the same
But
way.
yeah,
I get
the
it.
U.S. attorney, the attorney general was appointed by Biden to be on the Supreme Court, and was it by Biden or by Obama?
It was Obama.
It was Obama, and Mitch McConnell held up his nomination and said, "We're not going to do anything until there's an election." If there had been a Democrat-controlled Senate, he would have been confirmed, and that would change the face, just that alone.
Yeah.
And then Trump has nominated several more. He's been unhappy with Amy, Barrett, whatever her name is, but
Amy Coney Barrett.
Amy Coney Barrett. But she's done a really, she's a strong conservative.
She's voted with him 96% of the time. How much better can you get?
But here's the comment I make is so much the public doesn't know how to trust the courts anymore, because everything, if you don't like the ruling, they're not valid anymore. It's ridiculous. But if you look at the difference between Republicans' use of the courts and the Democrats' use of the courts, the Republicans have used the courts when a Democrat's in office to stop them from doing things that are illegal. And usually Biden has a good example on the student loans. He started out for the first couple of years saying, I can't do this. It's not, I don't have the power. Yeah. And then he came in, well, the Congress won't act, so I'm going to do it. Well, it didn't change the fact that you didn't have the power to do it. And so when they're suing to stop him from doing something illegally. When the Democrats are suing, 9 times out of 10, they're doing it to delay. There's 1,400 and so many days in a 4-year term. They're filing suit to delay, and then, that pushes it off one more day. And so their hope is to get to the next election and win the election. And you saw it really bad with this judge when the big, beautiful bill passed, and she did a TRO on they can't cut funding against Planned Parenthood, even though the bill cut the funding and it was enacted. So you got one judge taking on the 2 other branches of government, and her TRO said nothing. Usually a TRO has to comply with the rules of civil procedure and has to say all these things. She did not do that. She just said, stay. And she did it so that they couldn't take it to the Court of Appeals, because when Trump first got into office, they started filing these TROs. A TRO cannot be appealed. That's why they were issuing TROs and then delaying. And so the courts of appeals caught on, and so they started interpreting their TRO to be a preliminary injunction, which isn't appealable, and that's when they started issuing stays, and that's when Trump started winning. And so she was going to keep them from being able to do that, and she's recently amended it. I don't think that's going to stand up very long, because it's ludicrous and doesn't have any reasoning, really. From a legal standpoint, she's just, you look at it, and she's being made fun of by legal experts but I think it was completely not orchestrated, but it was planned, and it's, again, delay one more day. He's got only so many days left.
Go ahead, Leroy.
Quick
then
comment
I have a question
on that, because
from the team.
Because that was a strong point that Matt and I had brought up on the show several months back, was that, and you articulated it beautifully, the Democrats do, in fact, use the courts to slow down Republican policy, the formation of it. And Matt and I had noted that when Trump got in this last election, the pace at which he was trying to lay down policy was at such a rapid clip. It was almost, you could tell that it was almost done to outpace those court, the fights that they were going to have in court, that we knew that the Democrats were going to bring to bear, come to bear on it.
See, I think history is going to show that Trump is one of the smartest people that's ever been president.
Oh, yeah.
But on top of that, he'll outwork everybody. His doctor has said he doesn't need that much sleep. So, I don't claim to be the smartest. I just claim I can outwork you. And now as I get older, it's harder for me to work all night. When I was young, if I was mad and stressed, I'd just work all night and work through the stress of getting stuff done. Now it's harder to do that. I think Trump still is able to do that. And so people can't keep up with him. And when he's doing all this work and issuing all these, he's doing the work of a presidential first term in 6 months.
Yeah. Oh, well, he did this in 16, and people just don't understand all the things he's done. And history will be a lot kinder if Jimmy Carter can re-envision his image. Pretty confident that Donald Trump in 25 years will be able to, but honestly, I don't think he'll need to. He does amazing things.
He's gonna go down as one of the best presidents we've had.
Completely agree.
If the Epstein file does not derail him of stuff, then he's going to go down as one of the greatest presidents we've had because he's planned for this. He had imagine what would have happened if they had just not played games. He had been reelected. There would have been a Democrat House, possibly a Democrat Senate. He would have been impeached one more time, but it wouldn't have been confirmed. He would have been an inconsequential president because he wouldn't have been able to get anything done.
Right.
He had 4 years to plan. Yep. I mean, my favorite meme about him is his first term, he was pretending to be a politician. He didn't do a very good job of it. Second term, he's doing exactly what he knows. He's taken over a bankrupt business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God, that's a good example.
It is a good example. Tom Shin says, what is a TRR? Temporary restraining order or recusal order?
It's a temporary restraining order. It's only good for so many days, and then they have to have a hearing for a preliminary injunction. So in a federal lawsuit or even in state lawsuit in Texas, when you file suit, you ask for a TRO, which is to stay a temporary restraining order to keep everything the way it is until the court can have a hearing to determine whether there should be a preliminary injunction. The TRO is not appealable. The preliminary injunction can be appealed immediately to the Court of Appeals. And all these appeals that you're seeing are stays of preliminary injunctions, or most of them have been TROs, which the Court of Appeals are converting to preliminary injunctions and then issuing a stay. I mean, the most recent one the Supreme Court just did about the Education Department, they stayed a preliminary injunction, or a TRO that was converted to a preliminary injunction on appeal.
We had another question. Evelyn says, I think the Constitution covers the states and gives them the right to protect the borders, and federal government does not. Kinda. Article 1, I think it's Section 10, Clause 3, something like that. Look it up. Says
How many cases have we had interpreted the opposite, that it's the federal government's job to? I mean, we've got the federal courts and the Supreme Court of the United States saying it's the federal government's job to enforce immigration and not the states. The states can't do it. I think Texas just had a statute that was held unconstitutional at the Supreme Court in the last week of June.
Yeah.
On this very issue.
It does say in times of national emergency or invasion. And if the federal government, who is responsible to declare that, doesn't do that, then that doesn't leave the governors and the states the actual ability to do thus. And this is the problem why limited government and the 10th Amendment should always be our default. But this is what you get. And you know what Texas said? Texas said, screw you. We're going to do it anyway. And
and spent billions of dollars doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's Article 4, Section 4, by the way.
No,
I would like to see.
I don't think that's true.
I mean, I don't think it would stand up, but I'd like to see Trump and his team pass a statute or propose one that says if the federal government abrogates its responsibility to enforcing the immigration reform on the border, the state can step in and do it and bill the federal government, because that would help in the future. Because the danger is the next Democrat president. We need the Democrats to lose one more time so they will moderate. I mean, their biggest problem is they've outsourced policy to these advocacy groups. So they don't really they're not making policy. They're following what their advocacy groups want. And they've got to lose to moderate. They've got to lose at least one more time to moderate.
Real quick. Sorry, Leroy. It's not to prove whose brain is bigger. Article 3, Section 1 of the Constitution established the federal judiciary and grants judicial power to the courts. It gives the federal courts the authority to hear cases and controversies, which include the power to issue equitable relief TROs, is one. And then when we go back to the actual ability to protect its own borders outside the government, Section 10, Clause 3, gives states limited authority to act in the matters of war defense if they are actually invaded or imminent danger, and if Congress hasn't acted. So that's what I'm referring to, but let me know if I'm wrong.
I understand. I believe Article 4, Section 4 also does mention that it's the federal government that is supposed to protect the United States from invasion.
Well, I think the other really important ruling, since we're mentioning the Constitution, that came out the last week of June from the U.S. Supreme Court was on this. We call it birthright citizenship, but that wasn't the issue. The issue was nationwide injunctions.
Right.
And I mean, from a law nerd like me, it's really cool to watch how that issue has grown over the years, because it started out with a ruling on the merits and a dissenting judge commenting that we shouldn't have these nationwide injunctions. And so now it's grown from a dissent to a majority opinion. And I mean, I don't know how big of an impact it's going to be, because they're either going to do a class action, but usually that takes a year. But we've seen it took days for one to be done on this issue. I think that it's going to still take some more jurisprudence on that. But I think that was an absolutely needed ruling. And, you can see a lot of what Trump's doing and winning in the courts. There's a danger if the Democrats get in control, because, they'll come in and clean house just like Trump did.
Yeah. Well, that's why we got to stop passing executive orders and actually get some legislation through. This hope and pray of single issue bills, I think we just saw it today. Democrats play dirty, and a procedural vote is a dangerous thing. And if you're doing a on the previous question, gives them the power on a procedural vote to a no vote versus a yes vote, shifts power to the actual opposing party. And what you could have is a situation where they would then have subpoena power. But not only that, they also would essentially defund the big, beautiful bill because they hold the purse strings. So you have to listen, Marjorie Taylor Greene couldn't explain herself out of a wet paper bag. She tried, and she completely mucked it up. But it doesn't mean she wasn't right. But that bill, specifically, they threw Epstein. It's kind of like the "Don't Say Gay" bill, which didn't say gay on one line at all. They named the bill the Epstein release bill, but what it really was also putting undue legislation on cryptocurrency, which is something that Trump completely ran against. So they attached it to that bill, renamed it, and the Republicans are like, we're not going to do this. The answer is no. And then everyone's like, look, they don't want the Epstein files released. This is now the new political BS of the left. They can't hold on to anything, so now they're going to go ahead and ride Epstein. And wouldn't it be funny if that's what Donald Trump was trying to do, is put it on their heads of releasing all this information, because the political backlash that's going to come from this, with all these powerful people who are probably involved in this in some way or another, that'd be pretty ugly. But
I was really worried. I was really worried about Elon Musk coming out and saying Trump's on the list, because, I mean,
too much ketamine.
I think, but I think he says that because he knows there's no list, and so it can't be disproven. I think Elon is a one issue. He's a one trick pony. He's all about the EV tax credit. And when he saw Trump was going to win, he threw in with him, trying to convince him to not get rid of the EV tax credit. Trump has told him all along he was going to. When he threw his big fit was because it looked like the bill was going to pass. So I think everything dealing with Elon Musk is being overblown. It's a one issue thing. And his threat to create a new party is the same thing. He just needs to have 2 or 3 House seats and 1 Senate seat, and the Republicans will fall all over themselves.
He's not going to get it, though.
His tax credit.
He's got 4% of the power. This is something I know a little bit about, and Leroy does too, and I'm sure you do. But he only has 4% of the backing right now. Out of that 4%, you're probably looking at 0.75% actually vote, and most of those people will split down party lines. So you're looking at a really small portion. He doesn't have the backing. He doesn't have the time. He has the money.
He can't run. He's not going to run for president. So
I know the party.
He needs to have the run for president, have that prestige, and have that, like, I don't remember. I can't remember the name of the guy that did it against, that helped Clinton get elected, because
Ross Perot.
It was Ross Perot that got Clinton elected, instead of George
and that
Bush
damn saxophone on frickin' Johnny Carson, Arsenio Hall, was pretty damn good. I mean, come on, man. Listen, I'll just go ahead and I'll blow that saxophone like Monica. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's a pig.
Terrible president.
Well, what he did in the military.
But he was a moderate.
Right. I'll take Bill Clinton over anybody we've had in the last 25 years. I mean, he's a pig, but at least you're right. He was a blue-collar Democrat.
We have to get over the idea of actually liking the person that you're voting for just based off of whatever their policies or their politics are.
Oh, shut up, Leroy. Come on, it's a popularity contest. No, you're right.
Hey, that's a good point. I mean, that's a good point. We've been in this little identity politics area for a long time, but the left is really bad about it, saying,
they are.
You can't listen to you. their supporters can't listen to you because you're white, because of this thing that you believe, and that
Fascism.
completely disqualifies you. And then if they
Right.
can't respond to your arguments, they just call you a racist, which is code for I can't respond to your arguments,
Right.
but hey, none of my supporters should listen to you because it's now an identity politics thing. I
Yeah.
think Trump kind of blew that away, and now I think the Democrats are stepping into his trap on these 80-20 issues. The midterms could all be about immigration, which is exactly what Trump wants. The Epstein thing is the first thing that's kind of stuck on the wall since Trump's taken office. So I think the next national or the world thing will take that off the news, and we'll be back to Trump 80-20 issues.
It's amazing, that 80-20 thing. Nobody was saying that 9 months ago. We have an ongoing bet with Fox News that we have a few of their staffers that watch our show, because you'll be amazed. Leroy and I will break shit and it's on Fox the next night. And we're just like,
Yeah.
there's nobody who's talking about it. And we're like, come on. And the 80-20 thing was a show that we did. And I said, here's what the Democrats are doing. It's 80-20. And then all of a sudden Charlie Kirk's talking about it and Fox is talking about it. And that's okay. We don't mind. We're small time. We're not that important. And we like to think we're bigger than we are. So Ken, here's first of all, says Ken, is there anything that can be done about George Soros and Son interfering in our politics and our policies? Now, I want you to answer that, but this is where I want to get your take on Citizens United. I'm one of the only Republicans on the planet who believes Citizens United was one of the largest and biggest mistakes Republicans ever did. And they did it in order to give corporations free speech and then turn money into speech. And they did that to compete with Democrats. And Democrats were doing these massive fundraisers and celebrities and these giant billionaire corporations. And Republicans really had oil and gas, big tobacco, and a few others. And by using Citizen United, this really allowed them to go ahead and do massive fundraising. But as we know from the last 3 elections, it's not about money. It's about innovating new ways. And if we take a look in 2016, it was about capturing social media. We look at 2020, it was reaching out to people in regards to who was at home with letters and door knocks, even though there was COVID. And then in 2024, it was all about getting on big podcasts and getting out there in that element. So the question I have for you is Citizens United, do you believe it needs to be repealed? And do you believe, as a lawyer and a constitutionalist, that corporations have free speech and that speech equates to money?
Well, I do believe that there is a level of free speech. The simplest thing is a business has a right to offer its services to people. We've seen that in the bail industry where, a bail bond board does not, or they enact a rule, or we pass a state statute saying you can't call family members to offer to invite to bond out their family members. And that was stricken by both the Fifth Circuit and the Texas Supreme Court. So they have a right of commercial speech, and that's already been decided. So businesses have that right. I do think there's too much money in politics, but where the problem is these funds where one billionaire can come in and set up these funds that can throw so much money, and they don't really have to disclose who's giving it. The Soroses of the world. And the original question is, can anything be done about Soros? Soros has been banned from other countries, and he's not looking after what's best for us, even though he says he is. He's not. How much money or how many billions of dollars did he make off of shorting the UK pound or whatever their currency? And so there's this theory that he likes to create chaos, and he makes money out of chaos.
Right.
So
Blood in the streets.
I question their motives, because when 50% of all murder victims in the United States are young black males, and by and large, the murderer in that situation is also a young black male, and they're advocating for policies that favor the murderer over the victim, and they're setting up policies that actually increase crime and actually hurt the very minority groups that they say they're helping. And they just keep pushing them no matter what science shows. I question their motives. I don't think that they're true. I think that they have different reasons for what they're doing, and it's chaos right now.
Yeah, going back to Elon Musk real quick, and then we're getting on top of our hour here. Did you guys happen to see that with that Joe Rogan spot where they're talking about Elon Musk? And listen, I agree. I think Elon Musk is just a couple cans short of a six-pack, but he obviously is a pretty intelligent guy. But everything that he has done is all about Mars. From his acquisitions is, I mean, no, it's ridiculous. Like if you hear it laid out, you're like, holy shit, like everything Elon Musk has done from EV batteries. Well, you're not going to have unlimited energy source. So you go ahead and you invest in EV batteries, and the vehicles there aren't going to be able to be internal combustion engines. So you go ahead and run something that's not going to be having problems in high sand and high rock environment. Then you look at tunnels. You're going to have to live subterranean because you can't live on the surface of Mars until it terraforms. So he's actually knows how to dig tunnels. You take a look at his rockets in order to get there. Yeah, you take a look at Neuralink and artificial intelligence, which you're absolutely going to need for stimulation and having people sleep during rides and also getting rest in a very extreme hostile environment. I mean, like everything that he's doing is all about going to Mars. And when you see that master plan, you kind of got to go, that's pretty impressive, right? I mean, it doesn't matter. It's kind of crazy at the same time, but it's kind of Da Vinci next level type codex in his thought process. That's pretty impressive.
I agree with what you're saying on that, but doesn't that also, the comparison between Elon Musk and Trump just make Trump look even better?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you look at how smart he is, how he's held it together, how he doesn't back away from a fight, but also look at his family. I mean, I don't like to compare anybody's families, but look at the family situation for Elon Musk, where he's sacrificed business for his family. And Trump, I mean, to a certain extent has too, because he's had multiple wives. But oh my God, do we have any family that we compare to Trump that has the children that have turned out so great?
Yeah, no.
And I mean, and to hear one of his granddaughters talk about how she and her grandfather Trump have bonded over golf, and when she's not on his team, he tries to get in her head, and she has to remind him that she's a Trump too.
That's right.
I'm like,
it's great.
I aspire to have that kind of relationship with my children and with my family, and I hope I do. But I mean, I just can't say enough nice things about Trump as a result of that comparison.
Oh yeah, we're big fans.
It sounded to me like when Elon first, kind of really popped up on everyone's radar, was that he was really invested in the idea of, hey, when the U.S. first invented microchips, right? That was largely a government-funded type invention. Same thing with the CCD camera. Same thing with GPS or DARPANET. Sending the first email. And so it sounded a lot like he was going to, if he pushed the scientific edge, that maybe he might get some government funding somewhere along the way. And when you read his book back from 15, 20 years ago, I think it was actually titled Musk. Matt is absolutely correct. One of his goals that has never stopped from being at the forefront was travel to Mars. So when Trump comes in and says, "Hey, look, we're going to cut back on some of your tax breaks," right? And think about the businesses that he has involved with the government, between SpaceX, between Gigafactory, Starlink. And he does own a TBM machine, a tunnel boring machine company, which you had mentioned. So it's interesting that we as Republicans have kind of looked at Elon and said, your time may have come, because of the way you've kind of turned on the president. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the next 2-3 years, given that Democrats love to use that punchline. They love to say that billionaires run this country, right? If Trump has kind of pushed him to the side, will that optic be brought to light? Will that be used at some point against the Democrat punching the same line that they tend to use over and over again, which is favoritism for billionaires?
We've had a history in our country of very wealthy men, and when they kind of get to the end of their life, they kind of go crazy.
Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes is the best example.
Collected his own urine in jars. We're a little weird.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying, you could argue with the catamine thing that, that there's some evidence that Musk is kind of going down that road. And then you compare Trump, and, you would expect, as long as Trump has been alive, you would expect some of those, that strangeness in his personal life. And that's why I think people were proposing this peeing in the bed story or whatever that was just
the P tapes.
The P tapes, completely false. And maybe some Democrats still believe it, but I mean, I just think, again, Trump in comparison comes out as such a brilliant and normal person who's so comfortable with himself. And I aspire to be that way.
Well, yeah. Listen, once again, you're not going to hear a lot of negative about Donald Trump in this show. I mean, we call balls and strikes. And we do. We've like I was absolutely just screaming at his campaign, and luckily, about 18 months out, which he had no chance of winning until he brought Corey Lewandowski back. And once he brought Lewandowski back, Lewandowski brought him back home, and really gave him that energy he had in 16, which was focusing on the middle and stop allowing the Democrats to dictate the conversation. But when Musk, I'm not going to harp on Musk. He's done some good things, but Moldavi said it best when he said, paraphrasing here, it's not an exact quote, but he said jesters and Rasputin don't get to sit on the throne. So
well, and I keep making comparisons, and I need to stop, but let's just make one last comparison.
No, you have to stop.
I think,
no, you said it.
I think in our personal lives, when we have a crisis, it shows who we really are as a person. When our daughter needed a bone marrow transplant, it showed we learned who we were as people. We could rely on each other. Yeah. But we've got a personal crisis comparison, with Trump and with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk kind of seemed to have a little bit of a meltdown or, threw a little bit of a hissy fit. And then we've got Trump that has had so many personal things attached to him. They tried to take him out in every which way, including tried to kill him. And Trump has withstood every bit of that in a way that I don't think any other candidate in the country or even the world could have been able to withstand it. And especially no other Republican would have been able to withstand the attacks that he had for the last 3 years.
You're absolutely right.
And I agree with him when he says, if I hadn't run for president, none of this would have happened. I agree with that. I agree with it 100%. And when the Court of Appeals rules that is 40 something, whatever, 30 something felony things are reversed, you're going to hear me talk loud and high about all these people that owe him an apology, and you're not going to get an apology from a single one of them.
Fair enough.
But he showed his true character. He withstood it. He stood up and he did what he thought was right. I don't think anybody else could do that.
That's
fair
completely
enough.
Fair. Yeah.
Brian Scott, I'm not going to get into the Van Allen belt, dude, but this Van Allen belt thing has completely been blown out of proportion. Let me give you a sizable understanding of why the Van Allen belt and the Apollo missions. By the way, it wasn't just one mission. We went there 9 times. So you're going to have to disprove all of those too. But my lieutenant colonel pilot brother-in-law, before we were estranged, said it very, very well. He's like, the Van Allen belt is essentially a pothole for a car in the road or turbulence in the sky for a plane. And although is dangerous, and you don't want to lag there and stay there, there are spots in the Van Allen belt that you can get through without prolonging your stay there. And they just got extremely lucky. But it's not like you go through the Van Allen belt and all of a sudden you're irradiated and everybody's melted into liquid goo. I'm not going to argue the Apollo missions. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a physicist. I'm not a rocket scientist. But what I do know is how to read. I know how to disseminate logically, and Leroy and I are pretty damn good at what we do. When we consume something, we pick it apart until we feel comfortable that it's real. I feel very confident as I was at the Griffith Observatory and I was able to actually manually launch a laser at the moon and get a reflection back from the little small laser reflectors we actually placed on the moon. So I feel pretty comfortable as a logical person that those weren't there because we threw them there. And hope they went into orbit and landed, that we actually wound up landed on the moon. But that's just me. Leroy, go ahead. And then we're going to a couple things and then we'll wrap it up. Go ahead, Leroy.
Sure. The guy that sits behind me at work, he actually used to design a couple of the satellites that were in use up until about 5-6 years ago. I actually do a lot with orbiting vehicles. And I will tell you that to design something that would contend with the Van Allen radiation belts, it's not that big a deal. We know that they're there. We know roughly what type of radiant intensity would have to be contended with. And so long as they know that, then there's a plan.
Yeah, we just had a satellite get closer to the sun than we've ever been before. You've got pictures coming back from Mars.
The sun.
Yeah, every single day. So we have the technology that we had back then. People want to say, well, the technology wasn't good enough to do what they did. Well, go tell that to the Wright brothers. Tell that to the Montgolfier brothers when they went up in their first balloon. It's never good enough. But people and pioneers take risks. Otherwise, we would probably all be speaking a foreign language, or there'd be Inuits here instead of the American, Native, and Europeans. So let's just
Well,
relax.
but this is an example of what um, when conspiracy theories get embedded and they're so impossible to overcome, and the risk of the Epstein files. We've had when somebody says they're on my desk waiting for the review. Now we're saying they're not. They never were on my
We
desk. They
talked
didn't
about
exist.
that, yeah.
I mean, you lose all credibility, and
Yeah.
that's the stuff that creates these conspiracy theories. And I mean, I'm kind of at the point where we're not going to be able to convince people about this conspiracy, that it's not a conspiracy theory, without releasing something, which then confirms it was a conspiracy theory. And some story came out today that they had tested the raw footage on the video of his cell and found minutes that had been altered. So it's,
Yeah,
I mean,
2 minutes and 45 seconds now versus the 1 minute. I actually saw that. We're going
Yeah.
to talk about that tonight. Yeah.
So it's just another example of the danger of a conspiracy theory. And what a conspiracy theory is, when transparency does not satisfy a group of people, and it becomes to the point where they don't trust anybody on it. And that's where we pretty much are now on the Epstein files.
We got to do something else really quick. Brian, this is the last one I'm doing. We have an honored guest here, and you're tickling my funny bone. The moon isn't out in the space. Yes, it is. It's 240,000 miles away. It's past the Kármán line, 62 miles up. I don't know what you want from me. Yes, it is. Brian, you wrote me one of the nicest emails in the world. Like, holy crap, I love the show. You guys are always so factual. Right? You don't want to play with me on this. I will destroy you. Love. Don't do the Kennedy assassination, and don't do the moon landing. Just don't do it, bro. It's just it absolutely is space. Okay?
We have a high tide and a low tide that conclusively proves we have a moon.
That's it. And you can see the gravitational pull of tide. And tide is interesting. People think that it just happens on one side of the earth. It isn't. It's literally a circle that pulls the water up, become the gravitational pull, and goes around the earth. It's not half of the earth, literally the water rises. That's not the way it works. And the displacement of that water creates a low tide or a high tide based upon that. And if you just follow that principle, you know there's a moon, you know it's circle, you know the earth is round, and then we're good to go. Or if you've been in a ship like Leroy and I have, we've seen the horizon and we've sailed to it, and we did not fall off. Leroy, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Well, I would say people at one time believed the earth was square, and they
Right.
believed that if you got to the edge, you fell off. And that was the majority view. And there were some early people that just used the math. I mean, I hate math. I have a father and a brother who have degrees in math, and I'm an attorney because I can't do math.
Yeah.
But a lot of these things are answered by math. I mean, low tide, high tide, math proves we have a moon. I mean, math is the answer, and I hate that I'm even saying that.
Ken, last time, with all the photographs that we've had of a lunar eclipse, how many have you seen that literally have been as thin as a quarter? You think at one time the position of the Earth would have been the flat sphere of the light, so therefore it'd be casting a small quarter-like shadow on the Earth. Well, it's never happened. It's always a full circle. I wonder why that is. It's really not hard to figure this shit out. So here's a couple rapid-fire questions, and I'm going to let you go, Ken. One of the big things we do here on the Don't Unfriend Me show is you get a final minute and kind of say what you want. I want to hear about your podcast. I want to hear about your website. I want to give you a little more time. So we're probably going to give you 2 or 3 minutes to tell us a little bit more about you, because we want to promote your podcast here. We also want to ask you a question that is a time-honored tradition. Pizza, is it supposed to have pineapple on it, yes or no?
Absolutely not. It should be against the law to have
My man.
pineapple on that.
That's right, buddy.
pizza.
That's the only
I mean,
answer.
but I will say
No,
that
don't say anything else. You nailed it.
I'm a double
man.
pepperoni pizza eater, and that's all I am. Double
Yeah.
pepperoni. I
You're good.
Just regular pepperoni is not enough. I have to have double.
You're set. You hear that, Liv? Ken doesn't like you. We don't do pineapple on pizza. It's fascist. All right. You've got your 2 minutes. First of all, we want you to come back. We would love for you to do this again sometime. We need our experts. We need people who understand the law, and we would love to have you back sometime. But why don't you take a couple of minutes, tell us about your podcast and what you're working on, and then we'll wrap it up.
Well, let me start with just this little story, since you're going to give me a couple of minutes. I was in Houston, and there was a hearing in a case called O'Donnell versus Harris County, and it turned out to be one of the early cases where these advocates were trying to force bail reform through court hearing. And I went and I listened to the hearing, and the judge actually scared the crap out of me because I thought she was wrong on the issue. She was applying the law incorrectly. And so I came out and I just started yelling alarm, alarm, alarm. And what we discovered through that is if we're not telling our story, nobody else is. Because since then, that judge has now been reversed 7, 8, or 9 times in that case. And the Fifth Circuit ultimately ruled it should have never been filed in federal court. And for a while, that case was the seminal case cited all over the country. And so we decided we need to start telling our own story. And so we highlight important criminal justice stories on our website, which is pbtx.com, which is the professional bondsman of Texas.com. We have our own podcast. There's a link to it on the menu, but you can also go to thebailpost.com. All we talk about is criminal justice reform, what works, what doesn't work. If you want to know what the New Jersey plan is, we have a podcast on it. You want to know why nobody has suggested the New Jersey plan since they did it? It's because it's so expensive and they had to do a tax increase and then ran out of money again. So all the reform since then has been New Jersey light because they don't want to spend the money that they did. And nobody wants to talk about those issues. We know what works. We teach what works, but we have advocates pushing to do things that cause crime to increase because they're throwing a lot of money at politicians. And nobody's talking about that. And so we're trying to educate the public and legislators on what is good policy and what is crazy. And most of the stuff we're hearing about right now is crazy. But thank you for allowing me to come in and meet y'all and participate and play along tonight because it was a lot of fun.
Where do we rank in the? I've watched some of the podcasts and I'll tell you, I think I already know the answer. But seriously, don't you don't need to lie to us. Where do we rank on the podcasts you've been on? Because I've seen some of them. And man,
you absolutely need to lie.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not egotistical. Well, I am egotistical, but I think our podcast does a really good job. Where do you, from knowledge, from presentation, from music? Come on, it's okay. You can tell us. Ken, give us a rating.
Well, okay, so I rank podcasts from, whether we have an intelligent conversation, whether they call me a racist, or whether we have a lively, respectful conversation. And, just on your introduction alone, you've got to be way, way up there. But look, y'all are smart, you're intelligent, and so it's really fun and easy when you're talking to smart people who want to challenge me and then call me when they, call me on stuff when they think I might be wrong and make me work for it. I mean, that's what I love. I actually like going to podcasts that are from the left where they will like to have an argument. But I've done a debate before where it was with a civil rights court attorney who's one of these advocates that file suits all over the country. And she couldn't respond to my arguments. So by the end of the debate, she would just call me a racist. And I'm like, they were calling jails cages. I mean, you can't have a civil debate in that situation.
No, not when they shut the conversation down like that. That's what we, what's funny is that I just watched Nick Fuentes go on with Candace Owens and Nick is pissed and he has every right to be because Candace just set him up. And I'm not a Nick Fuentes fan at all. I mean, I've had the Groyper army after me and we've taken them down systematically and they don't come here anymore because they know they'll get whomped. But what I'll say is I hear all these people who go into the fray and they don't establish the rules. And the first thing I would do is say, listen, I just have one question before we start. Are you able to change your mind? And can you please explain to me a time that you have? And if they don't sit there and go, absolutely, here's this time, I'm like, we're done because this isn't a debate.
My favorite thing is to go to a podcast that's leaning left. And at some point they'll say, I agree with that.
Right.
You make a good point about that.
That's
amazing.
I mean,
okay, I'm in heaven when that happens. And that's not going to be y'all.
Because you feel like you've changed minds.
Yes.
We'll
and that's what happens when you have a civil conversation and you both express your views because they'll find out that they've been led astray.
Right. Well, and self-discovery is truly the best way to learn something. You can force things down. You can have a complete idiot. You can give him all the tools. You can give him the college. You can give him the car. Give him the tie. Give him the bleakers. Give him everything he needs to be successful. And in the end, all you have is a motivated idiot. So,
and that's the difference between having an actual conversation or in written form, it'd be peer review, but having an actual conversation versus something like just letting an argument devolve into name calling. You just suck. Well, that's not going to help anything.
If the money's good enough. Folks, you can find Ken at WPBTX. That's Papa Bravo Tango X-ray.com for my people on my podcast. Ken, it's been a pleasure. We want to have you back sometime, but we thank you so much. And we would
Thank
love
you,
to have
Ken.
you any other time. So if you are ever in Virginia, Washington, D.C. area, let us know. We'd love for you to come to the Don't Unfriend Me studio and let us have a drink or two
I
with you and
appreciate that.
have you on, my friend. Okay?
I appreciate it. I'm leaving Friday. My wife has planned a trip for 2 years. We're going to go travel around Scotland and Ireland.
Oh, you'll
But
love
I
it.
will tell you, when I agreed to go, I said July, it's going to be nice and hot. And then I discovered it's never nice and hot in
No.
Scotland and Ireland. So
It
I'm
is
going to be a
not.
whiny baby for 10 days and complaining about how cold I am.
Can I please give you a couple pieces of advice from somebody who's been there? Before you go, I'm sorry, that wasn't rhetorical, but so let me make it not rhetorical. Would that be okay if I give you a couple pieces of advice?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. One is that before you go to the bar, you want to make sure you've eaten something that is palatable, because bar food in Ireland you think would be amazing. It sucks. Second, there's only one type of Guinness in Europe, and that is CO2 injected Guinness. No. You haven't never had Guinness. You don't have Guinness.
I
in a
don't
can.
drink, so I probably will be 10 days from not having drank anything.
Don't make me mad. Go over there and have just one CO2 Guinness. It is
Remember,
Get you a pint.
Remember, I get in trouble being sober. I guarantee I get in trouble. I will be dancing naked in the street.
That's okay. That's totally acceptable in Ireland. That was my third thing. Make sure you dance naked in the street. So, all right, brother. Good to talk to you. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
All right, man. We'll
Ken,
talk
it was
soon.
really good to meet you.
Yeah, it was.
Nice to
You're a
meet
good man. Thank you, sir. Bye.
Bye.
Leroy, got a call back. Shit. Hold on. I got to do a new meeting. I forgot. I shouldn't have ended it for everybody. Man, I like him. That guy was really fun. He's a great interview. I'm glad. It was a little hairy getting him here because it was tough. The PR firm, there was some miscommunication, but man, I'll tell you, once we got him, I want to have him back for sure. We're gonna get Leroy back right now. Feel bad that I accidentally disconnected him. Let's do that and get him back in. But what a great interview. I thought he was fun. Definitely smart. And I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Hey, we need to do some fundraising. So I'm going to go ahead and get Leroy back in here. We have not donated anything yet, not $1, because we've had the show going. So let me play this, give you guys a pee break, and we'll be back with Leroy. We'll probably be on for another hour. We got a lot to talk about. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Olivia Spear, host of The Dumb Show. For 3.5 years, we never asked for donations. But after Facebook demonetized us for speaking the truth, we've had to turn to the one thing big tech can't cancel: you.
I'm Hayden, Matt and Olivia's daughter. This show's never chased sponsors or sold out. We've built something honest, and it's thanks to you.
I'm Ethan, their son. Every share, every dollar, every message, you're the reason we can keep calling out the BS and bringing color back to the world going gray.
If you want to help, we take PayPal, Venmo, or snail mail. You can send it to P.O. Box 2, Round Hill, Virginia 20142.
Can't donate? No problem. Just share the show with someone who needs to hear it.
Thanks for helping us stay loud, proud, and completely uncensored. You can donate at thedumbshow.com/donate.
You know what happens when you turn the dial harder? You can make a harder grimace. The harder you grimace, the more effective it is.
You tighten it so freaking I can't do it. I can't untighten
That's
it.
what she said.
That's what she's. Oof. Coming in with it. Pound it. Pound it. Pound. Good
Child
for you.
that's 15.
Ethan, you look like a hippie.
Totally tubular.
You know this is recording, right?
Okay, let's go. Smile. Donate. Don't start with me. Donations. Every time you don't smile, I'm gonna punch you in the ribs. Donations. Take one. Scene one. Ready. Set. Ethan.
Break.
Ready. Don't screw it up.
Okay.
Ethan, don't mess this up. Ready. Set. Action. No. Whoa. Director calls action, not some stupid toddler.
But we've built something
There's no but there. Why do you've been doing this since you were 2 years old? Try it again.
Just share the show with someone who needs to hear it.
He's so much better than you at everything.
Better than
Hayden, he's just like, even, it's just, go ahead, Hayden.
Thanks for helping us stay loud, proud, and completely uncensored.
That's a wrap. Well done, Spear family. I bet we make no money.
But I'm gonna owe them money without.
Hayden, do your thing again.
Oh, yeah, cut it.
Baby shark, doo 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 doo.
We certainly appreciate all the donations. They mean a great deal. We have our good friend Leroy back. I'm sorry I hung up on you, brother. I didn't mean to do that at all. Listen, I wanted to tell you guys something. We're always very, very honest with you folks. We have one of our big contributors who donate quite a bit to us every single night, who is not going to be able to donate for a while, who has went under some personal hardships. And it's certainly, to us, we care more about that, and we want that person to land and be safe and not feel any pressure. But if we're going to continue to do what we're doing, we're going to have to help out and pitch in, and even $1 helps. So please, that means a great deal. Bobby Richardson, 7774. Love you all. Thank you so much, Bobby. So if you guys can help out a little bit until we can get some basis, we would appreciate it. 270 people on In Legacy Media. Pretty cool to see this many people here in Facebook and Twitter. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Just had a good person on. Really had a good time talking to him.
That's literally his name. So
yeah, he was pretty solid, right? I mean, fun interview.
It was really good, yeah.
He loosened up a little bit once we started cracking wise, and that was good. I like it when the guests come in kind of, just a little serious, like T.S. Dixon, and then by the time we're done, they're just like they're having a blast.
Right.
And I bet he has like, he comes back as like, I had 40 Guinnesses. Their CO2 Guinness is the best. They're the best. That you have not.
So there it was in Ireland, 3 Guinnesses in, and I found myself with no pants. I want to hear that story when he comes back.
Right. I tossed in boulders and logs over the gully wall. It's like, great, dude. He's like, I sold the ghost of William Wallace. Real quick, we had a fun video I know Leroy hasn't seen, and I wanted him to see this because this is really funny. He loves Damani Felder. We love him too. Just a quick video just to put a smile on, and then we'll get to some of the serious stuff. Here it is.
Angry, or just can't believe what's going on. Here we go.
You already know what's coming.
That felt good. Gulf of Mexico.
The Gulf of Mexico at the end. Why are these people like that? Imagine, look, now I didn't like Joe Biden. I don't like Kamala Harris. I haven't liked Barack Obama. The list goes on and on. But I would never go out, spend my own money on a little figurine to go buy, and then come home and set up my camera and record myself throwing it at the wall so that...
Oh, I've got to show Matt this. Hayden, have you seen Dad?
No.
Ash, where's Dad?
Hey,
Bud? Have you seen Dad?
No, I think he's over in the patio.
Okay. What in the world? What the?
Anyway, so kind of a funny little ode to Monty. We were watching that, and everyone's like, "You're going to get red flagged." And I said, I sent it to 3 Secret Service guys, and they all thought it was fucking hilarious. So I think I'm in the clear. I don't think I'm going to be getting a visit from Secret Service because some lady was throwing Trump against the wall, and I decided to pretend with a magazine that was not loaded and an AR that was not racked.
It's a water pistol.
And I'm not going to, and I'm certainly not going to go ahead and fire off an AR that close. Anyway, interesting stuff going on. That was a good interview. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for the donations and helping us out. We certainly need it. Once again, if you go to thedumbshow.com/donate, it would really, really help. And remember, it's your first time watching. It's fine. But if you've been watching a while, ask yourself a question. If you watch 10 hours a week, 20 hours a week, there's people who actually watch more than that. Ask yourself how much you pay for Netflix. And now it's like $20 a month. Is it worth throwing $20 over to the Don't Unfriend Me Show to ensure that we stay free? Because I don't want to be like Charlie Kirk. I don't want to have somebody call me and say, you've got to change your entire position. I don't want to do that. And I'm not going to. So let's get into it. We got some news. First thing, did you hear about Elmo?
No. What about Elmo?
Oh my gosh. First of all, we have a donation coming from Joanne Townsend. Enjoy the show as always. $10. Thanks, Joanne. Okay, so it started off this way. okay, is Grok 3, which is the artificial intelligence for X, basically turned into an anti-Semitic, Hitler-loving Mein Kampf.
Oh my God.
Dude, somebody hacked it, and basically it was like they started asking questions like, who's responsible for, all the turmoil in the world? And they're like, Jews, and it was horrible. I mean, they were saying some racist Nazi shit, just horrible stuff. Well, he took Grok down. And then, of course, they released Grok 4. So it makes it look like, so they swept it under the rug. But then somebody hacked the official Sesame Street Elmo account. And they hacked Elmo,
Right.
Far Elmo. And
Right.
on his page, he's like, Sieg Heil Hitler, and the Jews are responsible for everything horrible. And literally Elmo just goes completely nuts, satanic. And this is what happened. So this skit is from the guys over at PPD. It's actually pretty funny. And I figured I would show it to you. I don't remember this guy's name. He's on the PBD podcast. You guys know who he is, and I don't really care. I just thought this was really funny. Watch this. You're going to laugh. So this is credit to him. VT.com. If you haven't been on VT.com, go over to VT.com and throw it a like. But I figured you enjoy this. Watch this, Leroy.
Elmo, it's no secret why you're here, okay? Last night on X, you went on a rant targeting Jews, President Trump, and Jeffrey Epstein. Elmo was hacked. So you say so. Okay, but Cookie Monster was in here earlier, and he said he was with you when you were posting that stuff on X. Oh, and by the way, the IP address, it's yours.
That means nothing. You can't trust that junkie.
Listen, I have to ask, and with all due respect, look at me. Were you drinking last night?
Elmo had a glass of Chardonnay.
A glass?
Okay, fine. It was a bottle. But that's a normal Sunday night for Elmo.
And let me guess. You were watching Nick Fuentes and Dan Bilzerian content, right? What? Nothing. All right? You tweeted, Donald Trump is Netanyahu's puppet because he's in the Epstein files and Jews control the world.
Look, Elmo knows puppets. And BB has his hand so far up Trump's ass.
Whoa, Elmo!
No, you're singling Elmo out. Snuffleupagus has been doing cocaine for 20 years, and Big Bird says the N-word on a consistent basis, and you do nothing.
Calm down,
No.
Elmo. All right, stop.
Look, if noticing patterns and connecting the dots makes me anti-Semitic, then ooh-wee, guilty as charged.
Elmo, stop. All right, enough already. And I hate that I have to do this, but this morning, I got a package, okay? And in the package was a video with a note attached. And the video is of someone that looks exactly like you messing around with some underage puppets. Oh, and guess what? The note said, tell Elmo to back off immediately. We also want him to go on an apology tour in Jerusalem, maybe even kiss the wall.
I'll be damned to hell if I'm going to Jerusalem.
All right, look at that. Look at that. Who's that?
Elmo's 3.5.
Who's that?
That's not me.
Elmo.
That could be anybody.
Elmo.
That could be anyone.
Elmo. That's you.
Oy vey.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you'll be seeing Elmo when he gets back from Jerusalem. Mazel tov! I love Jews. Jews love me. Please don't leak that vid of me.
It's getting out of control. But you got to have a sense of humor about stuff like this, and if you don't, we're just all damned.
Honestly, the darker the humor for me, the better it is. That was fantastic. It's when the accusations come up from a place of, oh no, he really is anti-Semitic, or then it's just like
right. Yeah, I love that he's making fun of those guys. I mean, I'm okay with that. So here's a couple things. Is you're a libertarian, right? I mean, do you still classify yourself as a libertarian? Come on.
I find myself at least to the right of the Republicans, but to the left of full-on libertarianism.
So you're a constitutionalist. Yeah, you're a constitutionalist. Yeah. I think that's really, and so am I. Fiscally conservative, fairly socially liberal. Is that fair?
Yeah,
and I know that's a cop out. No, it's just good.
It's not.
It's good sense is what it is. So Rand Paul is not my favorite person. And Ron Paul is not my favorite person. And Thomas Massey. But it's kind of funny that the U.S., for the first time in I don't know how long, actually had a surplus.
Right.
And to me, if you have inflation, now inflation is at an all-time low compared to where it was at 2017. We're now pushing 2017 numbers, which was like 1.6. It's sitting at like 2.3, 2.4, 2.5. But inflation's down. Cost of living is down. Energy is down. People are saying the dollar isn't down, but you have to, the dollar is still down. Yes, it's still down, but year over year, and if you look at the first quarter, it was down 11 points. 11% it was down. And now you're looking at about 0.6. So we have to take that. We have to take that that's progress. Tariffs seem to be working. Everyone's like, well, it's passing that on to the consumer, but consumers aren't feeling it. COLA index is actually positive. Wages are up. Unemployment, we netted 130,000 jobs when they thought we were going to be 33 in the hole. And here's the kicker, Leroy, is 33,000 federal jobs were lost. But guess what? They gained like 100,000 plus in the state. And that's what we want. Limit the federal government and have the state take up the slack. So the state hired these people at the state level, which is exactly what we want them to do. So here is Donald Trump. We haven't heard shit from Massey or Rand Paul, but this is interesting. Donald Trump said this, and I want you to decode this for me, Batman, and try to figure out what he was saying. A very vulnerable moment from Trump, something he does. He's not self-deprecating very often, but he was here. And I want to get your take and what you think of it. Here it is. Listen to this.
Yeah.
With us, we only had 2 negative votes. I didn't invite those 2 guys to anything. We had a guy named Rand Paul Jr. He's known as Rand Paul Jr. in the House. He always votes no. We had somebody else. I did him a big favor, and I said, well, he's not going to, sir, I don't think so-and-so is going to vote. I won't mention his name. And I said, no, he's going to vote because I did him a very big favor, very personal favor, as big as you can get, having to do with death and life. But having to do, no, he's going to vote. Don't worry about it. Okay, sir, if you tell me, but I don't think we're going to get his vote. Don't worry about it, I said. I know what I'm talking about. Don't worry about it. And sure as hell, he voted against us. And I said another one down, another great move by Trump. Anyway, so much for favors. You know, it's welcome to the world of politics, right? Right, David? We know about that. With us, we only had 2 negative votes. I didn't invite those 2 guys to anything.
So something that has to do with life or death. He helped Rand Paul Jr. with something very, very important. Now, didn't Rand have something happen when someone threatened to kill him and went on his property? I remember something about that. But do you have any idea what Trump's talking about here? Do you have any, could it be a cancer diagnosis? But what do you think about what Massey's doing? I really want your opinion because I know you have respect for those guys because fiscally they draw a line sometimes.
To some degree. The biggest thing when someone says, hey, do you respect that person in Congress, in Senate? Do you respect this person who's casting votes that eventually dictate policy? I will tell you the one thing that I respect more than anything else is consistency. If that person is a flip-flopper, if they vote for Trump in one direction and on a similar policy they vote against him in another, right? That's not something I can get behind because it's unpredictable.
That's fair.
That's not how I think. So I would have to look into it a little bit more, but I would say that Rand Paul has been really one of the more consistent kind of dudes to basically say, hey, look, this is this particular fiscal policy, it means that through his perspective, his opinion, not fact, but we'll get there, because it inflates either the deficit or has some sort of negative effect on the economy, he will vote something down. Okay, fine. If I know that he does that consistently, I don't necessarily have as big a problem with it. Does that help? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But, you know, he did pass through appropriations through committee, wound up pushing up the Inflation Reduction Act for Joe Biden. And he could have held it up, and he chose not to. Massey, listen, I don't like Massey. I just don't. I want to like him. I want to love him. But listen, you're running as a Republican. Stop being a libertarian. and be a Republican, because that's what, otherwise get off the ticket and just be a libertarian, be an independent. And then we don't expect it when you're an idiot. Okay, so here's the big thing. Okay, this is such a, folks, I'm not going to be here all for the rest of my life, okay? I can't continue to walk you through this time. Dad, once in a while, he's going to have to go to work, right? Daddy might decide to go on vacation. Maybe Daddy just wants to go ahead and go with Mommy off to a secluded island and not be here for you kids. And I'm not going to always be here for you. You guys ate this up like it was fresh bait on a hook, marshmallows and salmon eggs. I've taught you to dig. I've taught you, well, for trout, that's like gourmet meal, buddy. I'm telling you what, you go to any lake, marshmallow, salmon eggs, you'll pull in, you'll have 100 fish in an hour. All right. Ugh. So this big thing came in, and I'm not a bait fisherman. I like flies and lures. Miss Felsky, thank you, Luann, $21.10. That puts us at 108, third to goal. Thank you. All right, so this big thing came out, Leroy. There was this vote, giant vote. And this vote ultimately was supposed to be on the Epstein files being released. And supposedly Republicans...
On this vote, the yeas are 211, the nays are 210. The previous question is ordered. The question is on adoption of the resolution. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. On this vote...
Thank you for the donation, Darla, $5. Always enjoy the show. Sorry, it's not much. God bless y'all. Okay, so I want you to hear this because I'm going to answer this question. People are flipping out and they're like, Republicans are on the list. They're on the Epstein list. That's why they voted against it. Okay, first of all, I don't know how to tell you this, but I've got absolute incontrovertible proof that this 100% is not true. This is the bill that is actually on whitehouse.gov. Democrats and House representatives have introduced an amendment aimed at forcing the release of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein. However, Ro Khanna, this amendment was proposed by Representative Ro Khanna and was attached to the Genius Act, which is a cryptocurrency bill. And Donald Trump is absolutely against cryptocurrency. So the first time that I said on my Facebook page was, yeah, right, the Democrats proposing a single issue bill, whatever. And I wound up being right. So there's two things here. One is it's not a single issue bill, and it was attached to a piece of Trump legislation that he ran on, which not to throttle cryptocurrency. Second, there actually is a previous question provision in procedural vote rules and bylaws, which I'm going to go over when it comes to the Constitution and explain it to you. Marjorie Taylor Greene tries to do it right here, and oh my God, this woman just needs to stop talking. Like, whenever there is something that requires heavy lifting from a Republican to put the proverbial caca back in the horse or put the toothpaste, she should never talk. This woman is an abortion of public speaking. Here's Jewish Space Lasers as she is on. By the way, Benny's new podcast room, which is in the Capitol building, as they gave him his own studio. And I'm sitting here going, what? I expected him to steal my set, not upgrade. I mean, come on. Now what am I going to have to do? I'm going to have to go in the Lincoln bedroom or something. Watch this.
I got to correct something real quick.
Please.
So it's being reported that House Republicans unanimously voted to block the release of the Epstein files, and I want to straighten out the record right now.
By not straightening out and completely creating a kerfuffle.
That is not true. If I could vote, okay. If I could vote to release the Epstein files, guys, you would have my vote. I would vote yes. Here's what just happened. It was a procedural vote, and we have these all the time. It's called a PQ. It's voting on the previous question. And if the Democrats had won the previous question, which I know sounds insane, it's one of these crazy rules in the House that are hard to understand, that means they would control the House floor. And that means they could bring up anything. They could bring up impeachment articles against President Trump. They could bring up a whole package of insane Democrat agenda items and force votes on the House floor on these things. That's what we voted against. We never allowed Democrats to have control of the House floor because we control the House floor.
Yes.
So it's a misunderstanding. And I just wanted to.
Okay. everything she said in that garbled mess was correct. But the way it was presented sounded like literally she was Jean-Claude Van Damme Pierre. And she very much sounded like Venn diagram Kamala. So let me just tell you what it is, and then Leroy and I will talk about it. Here is the actual definition. And I just gave it to you earlier verbatim, and I sound 10 times better than Marjorie Taylor Greene. And it's not, listen, everyone comes with skill sets. Okay? She's really, really good at orange therapy. Okay? So that's her skill set. Mine is understanding the Constitution. A procedural vote in Congress is a vote that determines how or whether the legislative body will consider a bill or resolution. It doesn't decide the bill's final passage, but instead addresses the rules of the processes for debate. Motion for the previous question, which is absolutely listed. Motion is used to end debate and proceed to a direct vote. When the majority moves the previous question and it passes, they retain control of the floor and the legislative process continues as planned. But if it fails, control shifts temporarily to the minority or opposition party, which can then offer an alternative motion or amendment. And it has to be and ascertained to be something that is actually associated with that bill. They can't do impeachment proceedings. They can't go ahead and fudge the budget. They can't lock down the big, beautiful bill. They can't sequester people from Congress or censure people from Congress. It has to be related to what we're talking about. So voting no on the previous question gives the minority party a rare opportunity to bring up their own proposal or change the debate. That's it. It's just a procedure. So for Marjorie Taylor Greene to get up there and literally make some grandiose scheme that this was some sort of, terroristic plot by the frickin' Democrats to take over the House, it's a ridiculous notion. That's not what would have happened. It only would have been on that bill. And the reason why you don't want to go ahead and not agree unanimously is because they could change it at that point. And crypto was on the bill. Then you know what they would have done? They would have stripped out the Epstein thing and put the crypto forward. So you have to understand, but Republicans, if you want to solve this problem, why don't you just create your own fucking piece of legislation that releases the Epstein files? Well, the reason why you can't is because it's under sealed indictment and there's still investigations that are pending, y'all. There are still cases open in the Epstein case. They can't release everything right now. So this whole thing is just stupid because people don't understand that Donald Trump cannot override a justice and an indictment that has been sealed. He doesn't have that power. It's not the way it works. Leroy, go ahead.
Whenever you add a plan or a policy onto an existing bill that should be, for all intents and purposes, a single issue. Okay, so you've taken the single issue and now you've added other plans or policies to it to be voted on. You will always get the politics, the twisting of that prism to basically demonize what half of the people in Congress wanted. Or the Americans for that matter. They ran on this idea that the Epstein files would eventually be released. And then they go ahead and pin that to the success of another issue. If it was that damned important, they should have found a way to separate them. And Matt just said that. I'm not surprised by this, honestly. This is what politics is. This is a way for Democrats to hang on to the idea that Republicans are just trying to cover this up just as much as Democrats are.
Okay, I'm going to show you a couple things. And I'm going to show you Ben Shapiro, who is shilling for Israel. Listen, Ben, dude, you could just maybe not make it so fucking obvious. Like, you can tell who's being paid by Qatar and UAE and who's being paid by the Jews. Can some Middle Eastern country, like Kuwait, you guys have some money and you have not been represented. Leroy and I will shill for you. We will do your vacation in Kuwait. And we'll do hourly commercials pawning people off in Kuwait to go there and have a good beheading. Whatever we can do, just give us some of that Muslim money, right? We're all about it. I'll shill for the Jews. I'm down. Help us out. But I don't understand. But Ben Shapiro, and I've defended Israel, but Ben, dude, the only reason why he is not flaming over this is the reason why he's not flaming about certain things that he normally would be is simply because Mossad is implicated in all of the rumors that Jeffrey Epstein was working for Mossad, and Ghislaine Maxwell was, her father worked for Mossad, and that she was too. And that's the only reason that Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro are like, trust Trump.
Right.
Just trust him. Trust Trump. Everything's fine. I trust him. $10 by Patricia Luza. Love the show. We love you, Patricia. So here is Megyn Kelly just curb stomping Ben Shapiro. And I will tell you, Ben has lost a step or two. But Megyn Kelly just literally tears after him. Watch this. We'll get your thoughts. But you guys, it's literally Ben Shapiro just shilling for Israel. And it's so pathetic. You can't sit there on the national stage on your podcast with a yarmulke on and not expect us to see through what you're doing. Because like I said, if the Jews weren't involved and this was some Muslim or it was some oligarch from Russia, Ben would be calling for the head of Trump. He would be literally saying that these guys are sweeping this under the rug and be like most people, including me, including Leroy, who believe that they need to be transparent about this shit, including Megyn Kelly, who went to TPUSA and I felt was completely thrown aback by Charlie Kirk, literally just trashing Israel. And she's like, I'm not going to do that because she's not anti-Israel. Here is her with Ben Shapiro. And Ben literally getting upset because Megyn Kelly is making factual points and he's working on emotion. Watch this.
Of that, I have the names of the people who are making the claim that that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself, and that the most gross, and sort of extreme of the conspiracy theories, just don't even call them conspiracy theories, the most sort of, extreme version of the theory is not true. I have names of the people who are claiming that. Okay, they are all in the administration. And this is my point. If other people want to make those claims that are counter to that, then they should provide evidence or at least put their names on it so we can question them about that as well. Because otherwise we're just in the realm of pure speculation. And frankly, I just don't find that useful. I would love more useful information. This is why I'm angry at Pam Bondi. I think there should be all the useful information possible. But the same thing.
And I agree with them. If you don't have if you don't have exculpatory evidence that Epstein was working for Mossad and the CIA, then lay it out on the table. But that's not what Megyn Kelly's saying. What she's saying is your sources are the administration, and do you feel that the administration might have a dog in this fight versus my sources, which I'm not going to divulge to you because they're not on public record and I'm not going to out them nationally, and I don't do it. Someone told me to do that. Evelyn said, what's your source? And I said, here's the thing. I stand by my reputation, and there's no way in hell I'm releasing my source. I'm not telling you anything. Because people want to know how I knew it was Susan Wiles who leaked to Axios, and it wasn't Bongino mad at Pam Bondi, that he was actually pissed at Susan Wiles. And everyone wants to know how I knew that before everybody. I'm not going to fucking tell you. Because I want my source to come back and tell me again. But if you don't know that Olivia and I have several people in the inner circle of Trump's administration who talk to us, then you haven't been watching the show. Now, here you go.
Holds true for people who are making claims on the other side. Otherwise, I can claim that he was working for a cadre of space aliens who are blackmailing high-profile Americans in order to protect from a future invasion. And there's just about as much evidence for that as many of the claims that are being made on the other side.
All right, well, let's talk about that.
That is made requires evidence. Any claim that's being made requires actual evidence. And at the very least, in the absence of evidence, the credible names of the people that I can either trust or not trust, ranging from, again, the President of the United States and Vice President, the head of the FBI, the AG, and the Deputy Head of the FBI.
Well, I think it's very hard to say.
Dude, Megyn Kelly's ruthless, dude. Just watch this.
Those people need to come out and put their names on these claims when they're working for an administration, this one and the one before, that didn't want that to come out. You're asking somebody to countermand the people they work for.
How am I supposed to falsify their claims? Now we're working in the realm of the unfalsifiable.
You're not, but look, Ben, you can't come to me and say, everybody I know says he killed himself. And then I respond saying, I actually have my own sources who say he didn't. And then you say, well, your sources are not valid because they won't put their names on it. Okay, who are your sources? Let's go down the list and then we'll talk about why they might be saying that.
My sources are the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, Dan Bongino, the Deputy Head of the FBI, and Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. And those aren't just my sources. They're everybody's sources because they publicly came out and said this.
Okay. Trump hasn't specifically weighed in on that specific aspect of it. We've all seen the limited things that Trump has said and tweeted on this. And JD Vance was calling for transparency and suggesting otherwise prior to taking office. He hasn't commented on this so far, so he's not one of your sources.
Ask him. He's the vice
you've
president.
Got Cash,
so
you've got Dan, and you've got Pam, and we've already discussed that memo in full detail. I'm talking about people behind the scenes who, prior to Trump taking office, I'm not going to get too specific, but trust me, I have high-level sources who have said they don't believe any of that. Any of that. Okay. So, and I'm not going to out them for purposes of convincing you, but you're telling me name them. No, I'm not going to. I don't have authorization.
I'm not saying
and then you say, well, I dismiss all of it because you won't name them.
Hold on, Megan. I'm not saying you should name them. I'm saying they should name themselves because otherwise they are being complicit in one of the greatest cover-ups in the history of the American
That's easy for you to say, Ben. That's very easy for you to say.
Why is that easy for me to say? Why?
Because you.
Yes, I need to give Evelyn's follow-up. Evelyn said, sorry, my follow-up to that was I like to trust but verify, not questioning you, but I like to research myself. Right. And my statement holds true. Evelyn, you're not the only person who asked me my sources. And I don't, and it has nothing to do with, it's not my story to tell. I have gotten permission to paraphrase certain aspects and comment something, but it's not my story to tell. And I'm not going to do it. So Evelyn, I'm not saying it was just you. I was just making a reference. I've been asked many times, reveal your sources. And as I said, it wasn't just you. I said many people, and I just referenced your comment. And no, I'm not going to release it to anybody. My source is trust me. And you know what? I agree. Some people who say, trust me, bro, I don't trust. But what you do is you go on the credibility of their past. And if they are credible and if they are consistent, then a trust me, bro, is someone between.
Wrote that down.
Yep, trust me, bro, is between two people who you ultimately they're engaging you and they're challenging you to utilize the trust that they've established and saying, dude, trust me. And that's what Megan's saying. She's like, you know me, Ben, trust me. That is okay to say, trust me, bro. But if you're just some internet floozy and you're like, trust me, it's like, no, I'm not trusting you. I don't know anything about you. Well, as viewers, you all know me.
You'll have your job and you'll have your
Leroy, you have the full time after this. It's all you. So go for it. I've said enough.
Millions, no matter what they do.
Megan, give me a break. If somebody came out today and they were a whistleblower on the greatest scandal in the history of the American Republic, they would make more money tomorrow than in their entire life working for the FBI. That's ridiculous.
Okay. There are reasons not to cross the people who are in charge. And that's all I'm going to say. And look, this is me not having drawn a conclusion. I don't know what the truth is. I've been reporting in a way. I mean, I see you've taken a side that you've chosen to believe the story that's being offered, and that's fine. A lot of people have. I'm not there yet. I don't actively say that there's a pedophile ring. I don't say any of that. I'm just following the facts, and we're not at the place where I can draw that conclusion.
Yep.
Well, no, I can draw the conclusion that the evidence that I'm seeing and the people who are speaking about it lead me toward this particular conclusion. And if counter evidence is presented that is not speculative, then I will change my conclusion because that's what I've done on this case. Until this memo came out, I was weighing toward the more extreme version of this theory. And you can look back at my tweets and what I've said about it. And then this came out. And now my perspective has changed. When the facts change and the people who are speaking,
I guess I'm just not that trusting of government. There are other facts.
Of that, I have.
I know I said you, and 10 seconds. But he has never ever entertained any thought that that Epstein was being run by Mossad. He has never ever even remotely stated that. So don't give me that shit, Ben. Go ahead, Leroy.
You know, ever since Megyn Kelly had left Fox, I found her to be far more consistent in her opinions and interviews. And I'm just going to ask you a question. Do you think that from, say, even 10 years ago, that Ben seems to be more credible when Democrats are in charge? Do you think his voice carries more weight depending on who is driving at the Oval Office?
I think the following, this is a really good question. And this is why I love you, because you had a chance to go for 5 minutes and you asked me a question. And this is why you and I get along. Not because you defer to me, but because we defer to each other. And that's important. I will just say it. I think Ben Shapiro has lost credibility because Ben Shapiro is not America first. And I like Ben. I love Ben. I love him. I love him. I fucking genuinely feel love for Ben Shapiro. I do.
Yeah.
Because I've watched him grow up through this, and he has, and be like, oh, that's weird. Shut up. It's just respect for somebody who is super intelligent and has done more for the conservative movement. But he's not a Trumper, and he never will be. And he's certainly not American first. He's Israel first. And that is the one thing I will say about all Jewish Americans and all Jews. And I love the Jews. I've defended the Jews more on this show than any other conservative platform. And I am unflappable. More than Megyn Kelly. More than anybody. More than Mark fucking Levin. I have been defending the Jews. And I will just say the following. He's not American first. And I think that ruins his credibility, no matter whether Democrats are in office or Republicans, because he pulled this same shit when it was Biden. And he has always been very emotional and very sensitive about the Jews, which he has every right to be. But he will never say the following words, that Israel isn't perfect, and they're not. And that's not the same as being anti-Semitic. And that bothers me about, that's it. That's my thought.
I find him to be more, when he was more popular, he tried to staple a label of credibility to that popularity. And when Republicans are in the driver's seat, I think his voice tends to get drowned out a little bit more. And that's when you start seeing these emotional kind of jabs towards anybody who he feels is in opposition of him and on a particular issue.
That's a really good point. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think that, I think right now, honestly, again, Megyn seems to be very, very consistent, but Ben seems to be less consistent over the last 7-8 years. When Democrats were in, Ben brought a level of examination to the policies to say, look at this, it's insane. And everyone was like, yes, it is. We all agree. But when Republicans are in the driver's seat, I think there's less there for him to latch on to.
Not just that. I think he's conflicted because let's face it, he did a lot of damage to himself.
Yeah.
When with the Candace Owens thing. And he created this Candace Owens. And you have to ask yourself the question, okay, is there a pattern here? Because I'm a big fan of Crowder.
Yeah.
And I think Crowder and I have a lot in common. He's brash, he's opinionated, He's got a mouth on him, and I like that about him. I don't think he's as intellectual as I am. He's great in his debates, but he's also debating college freshmen. But Crowder has a very interesting niche. But the one thing he doesn't seem to be a money hungry jerk. And the way that Shapiro outed him, and the way that they did that, I thought that was extremely stupid, and honestly created this conservative going after conservative. This cannibalism inside the right is horrible. I mean,
yeah.
People go, the one thing I pride myself is I don't go after fellow conservatives unless they deserve it. And when I go after them, it's based on the facts and it's not emotional. Even with Benny Johnson, I'm jealous of Benny, dude. Like, I would kill for Benny's audience. And honestly, the man plagiarized and did some really stupid shit, and he's still successful. He's got an air about him that he's a beautiful man to listen to and look at, because he's got that thing. He's got that ability that you want to be pulled in, and Leroy and I have to work at it. Benny's just got natural magnetism, and I got to give him that. But I'm not coming after him. I'm coming after his clickbait bullshit and how he seems to get preferential treatment because he doesn't challenge anybody. I was really happy with his work this week where he challenged Trump. Well, that's over now because he got a Capitol office. It's amazing you get a Capitol office and you stop questioning Donald Trump. It's kind of weird. Your thoughts on that, Leroy?
Oh, well, to your point, I really feel like over the last couple of years, the Ben Shapiro's kind of grasp on media has kind of dwindled off a little bit. And I think this is when you were talking about Candace, he's always had people like Walsh in his corner. He's always had people like Michael Knowles.
Yep.
Right. But does anybody remember Andrew Klavan? Because I haven't heard from him. Haven't heard from him in a dog's I haven't seen any commentary from him. And that makes me think that Ben's show is on maybe plateaued or maybe on the decline a little bit.
Well, and I both know, for last year, we beat Ben Shapiro's numbers on the live show several times. And his overall interactions on Facebook, we beat him consistently, which is insane when you think about that. Because his main channels, he's spread out, but Facebook isn't a big channel for Ben Shapiro. But we beat him on interaction numbers. I think at one point he had like 65,000 interactions on his show, and we had like 72. And I showed you the screenshot, and we were ranked higher than him in a couple weeks out of the year. Does that mean it's not a big deal? It's a broken clock is right twice a day. It's not like we did anything right those weeks that we didn't do in previous weeks. It's the way the moon aligned.
That's how baby stocks eventually end up overtaking, something like Ford. At some point.
Listen, Ben Shapiro is not MAGA.
No.
As he only believes make America great again if it makes Israel strong. If the United States stopped giving, say they cut the budget to Israel by 50%, Ben Shapiro would have a fucking conniption fit. He would be Sean Hannity, literally from 2020 to 24, regurgitating the same 56 talking points. That would be Ben Shapiro. The United States government has betrayed Israel. They betrayed the Jews. They hate the Jews. This is anti-Semitic. The Middle East will fall. World War III is upon us. Jesus won't be coming back. God will be coming back. Sorry. I don't believe in Jesus. And the whole world's going to end. And oy vey.
You raise a really great point. When the Democrats are in charge, his show revolves around several different talking points, everything from economics to law to social reform to all that kind of thing. When Republicans are in charge, it's only about Israel.
That seems to be, or his most fervent defense is of Israel, and other things are left to the wayside. Like, he should be upset right now. He should be like, I want the truth. Listen, people have accused, some guy came after me today, and I think somebody's doing it right now. And I'm going to engage with you in a second. Just hold on. Just because I don't respond to you in the first 10 seconds doesn't mean I didn't read your stuff. Hold on a second. And by the way, there's a phone number right there if you want to call me, Dan. It's right there. My thoughts are, when it comes to Ben, is he should have as much fervor and passion for the United States as he does for Israel. I understand that the ethno-religious connections between Jews and Muslims and their beliefs between being a race of people and religious entity are synonymous. And I understand that Israel is the Holy Land, but you're an American, and you've made your money here, you've made your success here, and if you are truly a patriot, you should put America's interests first before Israel. Isn't that fair? Yeah. And I think, because here's the thing, I don't want a Muslim saying, I don't like Ayla Omar because she sits there and talks about Somalia and terrorist states. Why the fuck should I care about her if I don't care about Ben Shapiro focused on Israel? Do I believe that dual citizenship is okay for legislators? There's like 9 of them in the House. No, I don't. I don't think they should be a citizen of Israel and represent this country. Because Israel is honestly, and I hate to say it, and I'm not putting anyone down. I know how many Jews we have. I know we have, 2.1% of the population is Jewish, and I love every single American in this country. And I've worked in Israel. I've worked with Mossad. I've worked with IDF, and I have a deep love for Jews. Mm-hmm. But they are not my number one priority unless it helps the United States become even more stable in regions where there has been nothing but chaos. The ends are, it's not my design to make sure Israel prospers. It's my design to make sure that Israel survives and has a chance to be a sovereign country. And if the United States can help in that without sacrificing our own safety, then I'm all for it.
Boom.
But the moment that we sacrifice our own safety, I've got a problem. All right, so real quick, Dan says to this, are you really willing to fight even alone? Willing to fight even alone. I always fight alone, Dan. I don't have any endorsements. I don't have any people in my corner. I don't know Donald Trump. I know a handful of some. I'll tell you what, we're establishing a reputation, though. We're establishing
by even alone.
I think what he's saying is, are you willing
I need more clarification.
I think, like, Dan can clarify, but I think what he's saying is, are you willing to fight alone and nobody will stand with you because you constantly, isolate the people who you consider? No. Because I call balls and strikes. Because I may challenge Marjorie Taylor Greene today, but when she has done some things that I do appreciate, I call her out. And I've called out Megyn Kelly. I call out Ben Shapiro. I call out hypocrisy. And when I'm a hypocrite, I expect my audience to call me out and Dan, what you're doing right now. But the funny thing is nobody really calls me out on my takes. They call me out on my personality flaws, which I'm totally fine with because I don't have many bad takes. I fall on the right side of things because I think about it logically with the facts and I don't jump to conclusions like other people do. Right. And I condemn people who do that. Ben Shapiro is jumping to conclusions. He is buying everything the administration is saying. And Megyn Kelly is listening to her sources without any incontrovertible evidence. And to me, that is the biggest mistake you can make as a content creator and a journalist. And I'm neither. I'm just a guy with a podcast who found this thing that does pretty well and is turned into something successful, at least in my realm. And I'm not Ben Shapiro. I'm not Megyn Kelly. But I'll tell you what, I will put my record against Megyn Kelly and Ben Shapiro, more Ben Shapiro, based upon the success that we've had on this show of predicting what's coming in the real time and upon reflection. So that's my answer. Tell me if I got your question.
Yeah, I was actually looking for a little clarification. That was me who was looking for it, and I didn't know what he meant by fighting alone. Typically, when someone is even remotely right-leaning, they tend to think more individualistic to begin with, and it is my personal opinion that there is still hypocrisy on the right, but it's far less. And the farther you travel to the left on the political spectrum, you encounter more and more and more, not only groups and governments, but hypocrisy. So I would always shoot for the idea of fighting alone because I already know that I'm in the correct political zone then.
Yeah, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to tell you the truth as best that I can and take ownership when I'm wrong and gloat incessantly and beg for money and when I'm right. Speaking of that, we're only 1/3 to goal. Can we pick it up, people? Elizabeth Hall says, for dual citizenship, should a Cherokee citizen who is an American citizen be able to run for office in America? Well, this isn't Harvard, and I shouldn't ask a question with a question, but I'm going to. Can I hold office on the reservation? As an American citizen, does that go both ways? Can I go ahead and run for office in the Cherokee Nation or on one of the major tribes? Can I do that? Well, then no. I don't think you should not have loyalties to anything other than the United States while you're representing U.S. citizens. So no, I don't think Cherokee Nation should have any ability to. I don't think dual citizenship should be allowed. I don't think foreigners, without having a certain time as a U.S. citizen, should be able to go ahead and run for office. So no, I think American citizens should be in political office, and they have to show a certain servitude and loyalty to this country and benevolence towards this country and penitence towards this country. And if they can't demonstrate those things, I don't think they should be able to run for office, but I think they should have standards. Yeah, I think there should be American citizenship for president, for senators, for judicial nominees. Absolutely. I think 100% Americans, natural born citizens. Naturalized will have to have a time frame, like 15 years maybe. I don't know, whatever it is, but it needs to be, you need to either be naturalized for a certain period of time or an American citizen. Yes. Leroy, you?
I mean, if you're living in American and you are an American citizen, then let's leave off the idea of well, this is for a particular Native American culture or representative of whatever. When you get voted into office, your responsibility is to the people in your district. Now, if your district happens to all be a Native American, just because of locational, confines, then fine, that's the case. But I wouldn't make that the only definition. You're responsible for everyone who lives in that district. And I don't think your nationality or citizenship, I mean, if you hold dual citizenship, I guess I really don't give a shit. Just make sure that you represent the people in your district in the proper way. Put them before anyone else.
So it's interesting. Elizabeth says, no, not Navajo. It's not quite that simple. I don't know if you're talking to me, but it is that simple. If I cannot run for office on the reservation, they shouldn't be able to run for office in the U.S. And honestly, I don't think I should be able to run for office on the reservation at all. I have no right. And they have no right to run for U.S. government. Sorry. Ben Nighthorse Campbell and who's the other guy that's trying to impeach Trump? I can't remember his name, whatever that douche plow is. I don't think any of them should be in office. I don't think Ilhan Omar should be in office.
No.
I don't. Sorry. American citizen, 100%.
She doesn't put Americans first. That's the problem.
Yeah. Cherokee Nation does hold dual. I don't care. Elizabeth, you asked me a question and I answered it. I don't fucking care. Dual citizenship of any kind is a no for me. Yes, and I know what I'm saying. I'm very well aware of what I'm saying. And I know there's people who support the IDF. And you know what? I respect that. But let me ask you a question. If we go to war with Israel tomorrow, do you still hold the same conclusion? That's what I thought. So you and I both know that one individual experience does not make geopolitical policy. And if Israel decides to go ahead and drop a nuke right now on Saudi Arabia or India, are we going to still support Israel? And I'm not saying they're going to, but let's also understand that Libya was a very good friend to the United States. So is Iraq. So is Turkey. So is Syria. So was Iran at one point. So can we stop pretending that like Ukraine's a good friend? Now, I've told you in 10 years, we're going to be at war with Ukraine, or a proxy or one of our allies will be at war with Ukraine. Watch. Because history repeats itself. So everyone's all, we love Ukraine. 10 years, we hate Ukraine. That's the way it's going to be. So yes, Israel is a friend of our country. Yes, they are an amazing ally. I'm the one that walked you through the 40 reasons last night why Israel giving them $3.6 billion is actually a lie. Because 75% of that money has to go back to U.S. defense contractors. So it's really like $1.1 billion. And that is also qualified money. It's not cash. It's used for defense, which helps us because they give us a plethora of intelligence. So it's fine. I'm fine with it. What I'm saying is that if Israel does something that is out of the parameters of what we accept as Americans, do we still unequivocally support them? And the answer is no, we wouldn't. That's why we don't support dual citizenship, because our friend today is not our friend tomorrow, but Americans will always be Americans.
It's interesting if you think about it from, let's say we have a group like the Navajo Code Talkers, right? And all of a sudden a policy gets pushed forward that says, hey, we need to raise your taxes. Now, would they care had that representative been not of Navajo origin, or would it somehow have been summarily endorsed because the representative was of Navajo origin? Like, same policy results, higher taxes, but all of a sudden, because of the person representing them, does that population then care? It's an interesting concept.
Daniel, you're saying no one takes you seriously, but God does. Maybe that's somebody else you're referring to. I take you seriously. I gave my phone number. I told you to call me. You didn't call. Michelle says, not how it works, Matt. They can run. You cannot on the res. Did you even just hear what I said? I never said I could. I'm saying I can't. So you shouldn't either. I don't want to run on the res. And I don't want a person with dual citizenship running for American government. And I didn't say they couldn't. I'm saying they shouldn't. I don't know what we're arguing about here. How is my point not absolutely crystal fucking clear? The First Nation has their own council. Navajo has, I don't care. I don't give a shit. Good. Live on your reservation. Have a blast.
Have the ability to self-govern, then
have a good time. Have fun. So are we okay with Sharia law? Are you okay with Muslims coming over here and establishing a city inside the middle of Texas that's based on Sharia law? Sounds like you are. You support you support the native tribes being to do it. So why can't? Well, that's different. No, they were conquered. So what you're saying is we should have eliminated all of them when we conquered their country versus doing what every other major country did when they occupy and conquer another country, is to eliminate the opposition. But we let them live. So you're saying because we took, no, we didn't. What we literally did is obliterated 91% of their youth and able-bodied fighters with disease. Then we went ahead and started fighting and killing the rest. The way we treated the Native Americans was unacceptable, not right, and I support that, and I understand it. I don't feel guilty about it because I didn't do it. But what I don't like, I've already told you about the reservations. I've already told you about my thoughts on the reservations. We've had this conversation. Do I believe that people who have dual citizenship should run for office? No. In any way, shape, or form. That's it. Period. There is no, I don't care what the reservations laws are because they don't give a shit that I care. And I have no influence on those reservations. And that's the way it's designed. So stay there, enjoy it, or leave the reservation, denounce the reservation, come to be an American citizen, and run for office after you've served your time demonstrating that your loyalties are to America. That's it. That's my thought. You don't agree with it? It's fine. Actually, Navajo government is almost identical to U.S. I don't fucking care. Dual citizenship should not be allowed running for public office. Period. That's it. That's it. I answer your question. Can I go and run on Navajo reservation? Can I go run? Tomorrow, I want to go run. Can I do it? I want to be Chief Sitting Bull Mayor. Can I do that? Answer my question. Can I do that? Let me know. Mel says, then the native enclave should be self-sustaining and not expecting any compensation. Bing.
Back on July 4th, actually, Damani, our friend of the show and a good friend for Matt and I, he had released a video that actually asked, hey, is America on stolen land? A lot of the narrative that tends to come from the people who like to claim, membership to any one of the Native American tribes, they tend to run on this idea that that somehow we had stolen the land, and that's where all of this contention between why is the federal government telling them what to do when we can self-govern. But Damani did a really great video. This is back on July the 4th.
I remember it.
Where he broke it down and it's like, no, we didn't steal anything. We bought it and you guys let us.
Yep. Michelle says you are not a native. Either are they.
Everyone moved here at some point.
This land was stolen from the Inuits. The Mayans, the Aztecs, the Incas came up from the south, predominantly through California, what we know as New Mexico, what we know as Texas. And they killed and slaughtered the native people of this land. Give me a fucking break. There are no natives. They were killing each other. They were counting coup on each other. They were raping and pillaging other tribes. For anyone to sit here and say that it was all smoke and peace pipes and chasing white buffalo is completely naive to what was actually happening. They slaked for the lust for land and power, just like we did.
Yep.
And they lost because we invented black powder and they didn't. And their arrogance got them killed. Now, is that right? Is that right? No. No, and it sucks. But yellow fever and typhoid killed more Native Americans than any conflict or any white man. And yes, European disease came over here because they were inoculated to it. And it sucks and it's horrible. But if you think that they knew that when they came over here, when the microscope wasn't even fucking invented yet, you and I both have a bridge to sell you. Okay?
It's not like it was done with malice.
And it was at some point. Yes, they went ahead and took the blankets. And yes, I understand that. And I know what they did. But please. Okay, I'm not going to rehash this. Those natives weren't native. They came from somewhere, more than likely Africa and South America during the continental shifts. Okay, so everybody is from somewhere else. So don't give me this shit that they're natives. They have no right to this land because they were conquered, period. And every single piece of earth on this planet has been conquered and stolen from somebody. Yeah, it's stolen land. Fucking A right it is. And possession is 9/10 of the law. So don't sit here and tell me I'm not native. I'm an American. I lived here. I was born on this soil. That's the way it is. And if the natives have a beef with that, they can rise up and they can try to take it back. And we are acquiesced to that request. Let's go. Otherwise, I'm sorry. You don't know anyone who went through this. You weren't alive when you went through this.
Right.
It was your great ancestors. You are suffering from your own fucking trap that you put yourself in by staying on a reservation that has very limited opportunities. And we have covered this. And alcoholism and gambling and methamphetamines have run rampant through the reservation, and corruption from the old tribal elders is causing more problems for Native Americans than any government because we're not involved in your lives. So look at yourself. This very much just sounds like re-envisionist history, and it honestly sounds very much like reparations. The Native Americans need to understand that, yes, it is a tragedy what happened, but you are literally digging your own graves. All right? You want to be an American, be an American. You want to be stubborn and hold on to your culture and literally be an isolationist. You can do that. Just don't bitch about it when you need help. Seriously, enough. By the way, what happened to the people in the tribes that were captured? Were they assimilated and became Crow and became Navajo? Did they have good wampum? No, they became slaves. So don't give me that shit either. So tired of this fucking Native American Sitting Bull, peace, love, and cornmeal bullshit.
They were not peaceful.
They were fucking violent.
They were at war with each and every tribe that they came across.
Yeah, I'm done. No looking at history. I don't know if that's directed at me or not. It's hard to tell. I don't know if you're replying to me.
Yeah, I can't tell.
And I don't care because I just gave you the history. I just gave you the history. Tell me I'm wrong. Just tell me that the Mayans, the Incans, and the Aztecs and the Omegas did not come up from Mexico. Tell me there's not South American tribes that came here. If we believe it started with the Chumash and the Blackfoot, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. The Inuits that came from Alaska and the Northern Hemisphere continents were pushed out. So I don't know what to say. I'm really happy that the native, okay, Glenn says natives are U.S. citizens and they're members of the respective nation's tribes. If they want to hold a U.S. public office, they can be that. And if they are a member of the tribal government, they will have to put their U.S. citizenship first in their constituents, be they European ancestry, native ancestry, or, yeah. I still don't think if you're a dual citizen that you should be able to hold public office. That's it.
That's fair.
Michelle says, no, I think they're uncomfortable off the res, primarily due to that attitude. It's not an attitude, it's facts. It's called facts. I have never harmed a Native American in my life, and I never would. And I have defended them, and I've lived next to them, and I've hired them, and I've broken bread with them.
But you certainly couldn't drive into their neighborhoods without getting the raised right eye. Like, what the hell are you doing here?
And if an American citizen is killed on native soil on a reservation, we have no authority to go on that land. So stop projecting that I am the reason why Native Americans are struggling in today's society. That is nothing but the Native Americans' fault, not mine. They have the same opportunity as we do as American citizens to make their way.
Absolutely.
They can leave those reservations. Well, they want to hold on to their culture. Okay, then hold on to your culture and die with it. Stay on a fucking ball of dust and try to make ends meet. That's your choice, but that's not my fault.
Right.
That's their fault.
If your culture prioritizes the love of earth and smoking peace pipes and, you know, whatever the case is, if your culture embraces that and prioritizes that over personal success, hard and rewards through hard work, then, you know, that's your culture, I guess. Love it, you know.
Natives in Montana would not be pleased if they heard this segment. Natives across the United States would not be pleased if they heard this segment. But they certainly wouldn't be pleased when I defend their culture, too, and talk about the atrocities that the U.S. government did to the Native Americans, because I've defended them ad nauseum. And I've brought to light that some people have no idea about. There's people on my show who've heard me talk about the natives, and they're like, I had no idea these things took place. And you know what? They don't like it when I do that either. Essentially, they don't like it when I talk about their culture because I'm a white man. And I've had enough of that from the African Americans. I've had enough of that from Spanish and Asian Americans. And I've had enough from white people with liberals telling me, you're in my country. I'm in yours. I have a right to say what I want to say. It's not hate. It's just truth.
Daniel Jackson says, I could change you all.
I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
Daniel, I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you should go talk to God because you won't call me. Hi, British Columbia, Mel.
Hello there.
Hello
there. Slight observation. This Dan guy is a digital podcaster, so I'm thinking he's trying to garner clickbait and blah whatever.
Yeah,
for his
probably. And I don't care.
whatever podcast and whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
This other shit about the natives and stuff. As you know, we go through this hourly, minutely in the Great White North here, and it gets absolutely frustrating and tiring about we have these rights, we have this whatever, you owe us this land, it's ours, you stole it. No,
you
you
got
lost
conquered.
the war, you lost the battle. Like, piss off, assimilate, yeah.
That's it.
Do like all the rest.
Yeah.
Do like all the rest of all of his cultures.
Can you imagine if
Assimilate.
the Japanese, like the Japanese Americans in the U.S., 3.6% of the population rose up today and said, you owe us reparations for Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and we are forming our own form of government under the empire of the sun in the United States. Could you fucking imagine what we would say? We would say assimilate or fuck off.
Exactly. Assimilate and fuck off. Keep your traditions, do your little powwows, do whatever it is.
Commit
to
seppuku
do.
all you want. Drink
Right.
drink sake. We don't care.
Yeah.
Just do whatever you want to do.
We don't care.
Yeah, take a
But
concubine.
Stop leeching off the rest of us and expecting free stuff because that's what you want.
Yep.
Because up here they're bleeding us. Well, they've bled us dry years and years and years and years and years ago. Like we're done. But it doesn't stop. You give them an inch, they want a mile. It's like the victimhood. I'm tired of it. It's like, no, this is 2025. This ain't 1775. You're done. You lost the war. We gave you horses and guns. You still lost the war. You like the beads and the booze, so have a nice day. You got your casinos, you got your land, little bits or whatever. Fill your boots.
Elizabeth.
Stop calling this.
Okay, hold on. Elizabeth Hall says, I'm not pleased about this segment, but everyone is entitled to their opinion. This isn't an opinion.
Yeah, I know Elizabeth.
This is called fact. It's called fact. Stop. Dispute, Elizabeth. You are smart. You are a teacher. Dispute one thing I've said. Tell me where I'm lying.
Exactly.
Daniel, you didn't call because Mel just called. She's from Canada, and if they can figure out the phones up there in gay North Dakota.
Sure shit can.
Yeah, you can do it. Come on, buddy. Call again.
Exactly.
Mel, I love you to death. Thank you. It looks like we're going to come short on goal. We're already 37 minutes past our goal time, and he's got to go. Leroy, get out of here. We love you. I got to stay because I got to make goals somehow. I can't run a 3-hour show and do this. So
I love
we
you
love
guys,
you.
but
Love you. Get out of here.
I'll talk to you in a little bit.
Bye, buddy.
Okay.
All right. Mel, anything else you got, Mel?
No, I'm getting tired of the native whining and then with this when they came up with when Elizabeth said the dual citizenship. I said, how can you have a dual citizenship when you live in one country? Like the Cherokee Nation, you're not a nation. You're an entity within the nation.
So Mel, I got to
don't have
interrupt.
dual
Listen, Michelle says, Elizabeth, I hear you. They don't know. What don't I know? We've had this conversation before. I have lived in New Mexico. I've lived in Arizona. I have worked with people on the reservation. I've hired people on the reservation. The first girl that I dated in Evergreen, Colorado, I met at a powwow who was Native American, and we dated for 2 years. What don't I know? Tell me, educate me. Why? What am I wrong? Just tell me what I've said that's incorrect.
And if you go north of the border, the native population up here, all the Iroquois, Cherokee, Cree, blah, whatever, they don't have dual citizenship. There is no such thing as dual citizenship for the indigenous population up north, which is weird because I'm sure they would have tried or done whatever. So that's only that's an anomaly within the United States that they're pushing or trying to push. So it's not it's not a carte blanche thing for all the native tribes across North America to have dual citizenship because they don't have it here in Canada. So I don't know. Yeah, Elizabeth, you can call it what you want, dual citizenship. I call it bullshit, but that's my opinion, and that's where I'm going to, that's the stake I'm putting into the ground.
No,
So,
that's fine. You say that. Now, listen, what was just said is, no, we are a nation within a nation. Well, okay.
No, you're not.
Let me just answer this. Is we recognize that they are a sovereign nation, but it is under the Constitution of these United States.
Exactly.
And they are not a separate entity. That is absolutely 100% incorrect. Tribal sovereignty exists within the framework of the Constitution, not beset from it.
Exactly.
So you're still a part of the Republic. You are still a part of this country. And to sit here and say that you're not, you drive my point home even more. You solidify my point that you are somehow different. Now, you may be governed with your own sovereignty, but it's under the Constitution of the United States. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend that there are 574 separate countries in the United States. That is bullshit.
Well, and they keep expanding it, like the gender whatever. Like every time you turn around, like there's more than one. Like it used to be starting at like about 6 major tribes. There's the Cree, the Iroquois, the whatever, Cherokee, blah, whatever. And then all of a sudden now each one of them have a new name and they're their own little nation. I'm like, so you got a nation within a nation and you're all whatever. So it's just like the gender thing. There's 9,000 different genders of the native populations in both our countries. And we're like, and it changes like every other week. Like,
yeah.
Well, no, we have this little piece of land and we're called this and this is our nation. I'm like, no, you live in the government in the country of Canada or the U.S. You fall under the same rules as all the rest of us do.
Yep.
And if you don't like it, get in your canoe and go back out in the ocean or do
Okay,
whatever.
now that's not something I've said. But
but
Michelle says you don't know how they feel. You're just stereotyping. I'm assuming you're not talking about
No,
me.
I'm not.
No, I think she's
Trust
talking
me,
about me because I'm not stereotyping. Listen, everything that I have framed is accurate. Tell me where I'm wrong. You never can. All you do is say, "Oh, well, you're stereotyping," or you just don't know how they feel. I don't care how they feel. Their feelings are irrelevant to this equation.
Exactly.
Because that has nothing to do with the conversation. Because I can't work with feelings. I can only work with fact. Please tell me what the United States government has to do in order to let this go. Do you anticipate that there is anything we can do to redeem ourselves in the eye of the Native Americans and make ourselves and them whole? No, there's not.
Never.
So this is an effort in futility. And you don't get to sit around and be a victim for the rest of your life. Sorry. Because I'm a Christian. I was persecuted in Rome. I want special treatment. You don't get it.
And that's what the black population has been doing,
Yes.
whatever. So you can equate so now you've got like 2 entities that are like, I'm like, it's got to stop. Like,
wait a second.
No.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Kids don't want to leave the res because of this attitude. We are perpetuating the problem. I can name 75 people who worked at Apple, who were all born on the res, who no longer are, who are successful. One of them is a store leader at Apple. One of them works in Cupertino, who have all lived a perfect. This is an absolute lie. This is complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Complete bullshit.
I come from Bumfuck, Saskatchewan, that is a large population of natives, whatever. And I guarantee you, most of them are embarrassed and whatever when this bullshit starts. But there are those, and it's the chiefs and these hereditary chiefs that keep propagating, same as it is in the black communities in both countries, like whatever, keep pushing the fucking narrative. You're oppressed. You're the whatever.
Yeah,
you're
I'm
the
just
victim.
I'm done.
We're done. We're so done.
I think it's different in Canada than it is here. Just leave them alone. I do. And we get called that we've abandoned the Native Americans. So which one is it?
No.
Do you want me to care? and be accountable for the way we've treated them, or you want me to leave them alone? Because leaving them, I've been doing that forever. But minus what we've done for the communities, minus what we've done for the culture in the communities, minus what we've done by helping families who are impoverished in the res that we have helped, Olivia and I specifically. See, what's interesting to me is that you don't have any facts. You're using emotion. I'm stereotyping, right?
Nope.
You don't care, or you don't know how they feel. Well, that's ridiculous for you to assume that I don't know how they feel, because you can't prove how I don't. There aren't any What have I said? Just tell me one thing that I've said that's not right. That's it. Tell me one. You're picking a small group of people without ever stepping foot on a res yourself.
Bullshit.
Why do you keep saying things? You're the only person who's being devious and deceptive. You're blatantly speaking mistruths. You're blatantly speaking mistruths. I'm not picking a small group of people. You know what you sound like? You sound like a liberal. This is what leftists do. Oh, well, Antifa's not real. It's only a small group of people. The fuck it is. It's a movement. And in the book right here, you can read it and go back hundreds of years and understand that this is all connected. I'm not saying that all Native Americans believe this. I'm saying the ones that do, who victimize and blame white people for their troubles today, is ridiculous.
It's the same as what the Black community is doing as well. So,
and I think I think everyone has a gripe, and everyone has a right to express their opinion. I'm glad you live there. Then go back there. If you loved it so much, then go live there. I'm not condemning you for your. I'm not saying I have more experience than you. I'm not saying hold on a second. I'm not saying that I understand the reservations more than you, but I can look at statistics, and I can read history, and I can read books, and I can speak to the Native people, and I can understand where they're coming from, and I can do those things. But what's interesting is that you want me to accept their version and only their version. And isn't that interesting that you're accusing me of doing that when that's specifically what you're telling me to do? You're telling me to accept your version of history and not question it. I'm not allowed to question because I don't know how they feel. I don't care how they feel.
Feelings doesn't matter. And
Michelle, you're always on the wrong side of this. You're always on the wrong side of this because you can't have a rational conversation about it. You have Native American envy, and I don't know what to tell you about that. It sounds like you're ashamed to be an American and you're making excuses. Go live there. Go have fun.
Eat pemmican. Shoot with your bow and arrow.
Oh God, stop it, Mel. Mel, you are being very stereotypical.
I know
but that's not my take. You're muddy, but that's your take. That's your take, not mine. So separate that, because I'm trying to make logical arguments, and I can't sit here and insult people that I don't want to insult. I just want to stick to the facts.
I don't want to insult anybody, but I'm getting tired of that narrative. The Native American or Indians were the biggest proponents of slavery in all of North America.
Right.
And it's a proven fact. So, yeah, and
that doesn't absolve the Americans. Listen.
And that's where the education stops.
Yes.
They don't tell all of the stories.
And you and I agree with that. But saying, hey, go shoot your bow, and I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
That's my frustration.
I understand, and you have a right to say that, but I'm just saying that's not my point. My point is I say go chase white buffalo and get big wampum is talking about something that happened hundreds of years ago. And that is what I'm saying. And nobody alive today is what I'm saying. I am not trying to disrespect Native Americans. What I'm saying is, and this is all this argument is about, is I don't believe you should have dual citizenship and serve in the United States, state legislature, Senate, or any form of government. You have your own government. You have your own sovereignty. Go serve on the reservation. Have fun. But the moment that you come off the reservation and become a legislator, I feel the same way about Israel. I feel the same way about Somalia. And why do we have a problem with Somalia? Why do we have a problem with Israel, but you don't have a problem with Native Americans? Why?
Yeah, exactly. Or any other country, German, Italian.
Michelle, and listen, Michelle, here's what it comes down to. Until you call into the show, which you will not do, there's no reason to continue this conversation because you're having an argument with yourself. You are misrepresenting everything I'm saying. You will not argue the facts. You're emotionally a mess over this. And I don't care to have a conversation with you until you have the courage to pick up the phone. That's it. That's it. I don't have anything else to say about it because you and I are not having the same conversation. You're fighting something that you've labeled me as stereotypical and some sort of a white nationalist who disparages Native Americans. No, I'm saying Native Americans have every chance and opportunity to live the life that they want, and they can choose to live on a reservation or assimilate to American way of life. They get to choose. But what you don't get to do is bitch about it for eternity. That's all I'm saying.
1,000%.
Because they are Americans. Great. Then you can be Americans on your reservation and do that. But I don't believe you should be able to go ahead and have dual citizenship. No, I don't. Sorry.
But if they're Americans, then there is no such thing as dual citizenship.
That's correct.
With the Native.
You're an American.
Yeah.
So be an American.
You're American.
So
be an American.
That's right. You didn't have a problem when your tribe was overtaken by another tribe. You assimilated to that tribe. You didn't say, hey, I'm Blackfoot for life. Hey, I'm a Cherokee. Yeah. You assimilated or you died. Assimilate or die. And I don't mean killed. I mean thrive and be successful and live and have all the opportunity that all Americans have. But if you choose to live on a reservation, which struggles and suffers a great many hardships that are self-induced, you don't get to complain about it. That's all I'm saying.
That's right.
All right. I'll talk to you later. I love you.
Love you.
Hey, are you okay?
Bye.
Are you okay?
Not really, but I'll get better.
You're going to be okay. Hey, and everyone leave Mel alone. She's having a night, and I love you and I appreciate you. And just call if you need me. Anything. You know that.
I love you.
Love you too, buddy. CJ Jenkins donated $10.80. Listen, this conversation never goes well. And it doesn't go well because emotion is nasty. This is an emotionally charged topic. And if people don't like the conversation, I don't really care about that. What you need to do is tell me what I've said that's wrong. Tell me what I've said that's wrong. And if you can't do that, then that's it. Joanne says, my best friend is Native American. None of her relatives from her grandparents on down. We live on the reservation. They absolutely refuse to live there. I know plenty of Native Americans that refuse to live on the reservation. Will not. They absolutely, from Albuquerque in Arizona, refuse. They will not live on the res. And a lot of these people have been successful. And a lot of these people do well. And some of them don't. They're addicted to drugs or methamphetamines, and they're alcoholics, or they're in abusive relationships. But that's everybody. Everybody goes through hardships. What I am saying is because you once were on this soil in the past, and what you considered was to run free and that you owned it all, is exactly antithetical to what you're saying. You wanted it all for yourself. That's what you're saying. You're just upset with who has it. You're not upset that somebody has it all. You're upset with who has it all. And that's the truth. Oh, Elizabeth, I don't have the energy for this. Elizabeth, we're losing money on this show. I don't have the energy for this. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes and we're capping it off at that. Go ahead, say whatever you want.
Okay. Well, the thing about it is I think that it's kind of not being told or seen what we're trying to say is we are Americans, but we are also within a nation, meaning that we, by NATO standards, and you know about NATO, we have a seat on NATO. We have a seat also supposed to have a seat in Congress, which we are being denied at this moment of time. But we are supposed to, by treaty, have that seat. And we are, and with that being said, we are not saying we are not happy and proud to be Americans, because you know I'm a veteran's daughter. I also tried to serve in the military myself. I was in ROTC. But we also have our nation of being Cherokee. So we are a nation within a nation. It's hard for people to understand that. Here in Oklahoma, we actually have it where we are now because of the McGirt able to actually have police our own people. We actually have that going on, but we have a governor, Governor Stitt, who's supposed to be Cherokee, and he has caused more problems for the Cherokees than anybody else has ever. So it gets to be a really obnoxious stand whenever everybody's fighting within themselves. And then we also have the other ones like the Delawares that finally got to be federally recognized. All they can do is be negative about this because they think that the Cherokees, who also are taking care of them, are also causing problems. And so, in other words, I agree that if we're dealing with the American government, we should represent within the American government. But to say that if we have a dual citizenship, we cannot choose to either represent on the government reservation, or in our nation, or we can have to choose between our nations. We cannot just divide ourselves up. We are a nation within a nation, therefore we have dual citizenships, but it's not like the ones coming over from these other countries that have no real standards here. Because if they want to come from their own homes and have their own rules, then that's fine. Go back to your country. But Cherokees, we honor, and we are supposed to be American, but we're also Cherokee.
Okay.
And therefore,
Okay, great.
it's a wholly different way.
All right, I gave you your time. So there are so many false claims and untruths in here that I can't even begin to start. You do not have a seat on NATO. That is an absolute lie. And you are not
check it out.
I have checked it out. You're wrong. Just like Puerto Rico, just like the U.S. Virgin Islands, you have a non-voting seat. In Congress also, you do not have a seat in Congress. You're not guaranteed. Just because the Cherokee Nation went ahead and established that in 2019 doesn't mean it's true. There is nothing in any treaty that states that you have a right to an unvoted seat in Congress. That is a complete fallacy, and it holds true for the UN as well. You're referencing the 1835 treaty, which is false. So just because you make it up doesn't mean it's true. You are not a part of the United Nations. You do not have a sovereign seat on the United Nations. You have advisory councils, and you are heard by the United Nations. That is something completely different. And there are other groups that are also heard, including the Amish and others who have separated from a sovereign entity, but they are used as special advocates. They are not have a seat on NATO. You are not a representative country in NATO and the UN. The UN. It is absolutely not true.
Okay.
So you're wrong. So when you come on here and espouse stuff like this, you're not speaking fact. And I understand what you're trying to say. I understand that you have been misrepresented. I understand that there has been a lot of trouble from your nation. And I understand that you consider yourself to be dual citizens of America, and you also recognize your Cherokee lineage. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I represent my Greek and German and Austrian and French and Dutch and Irish and Scottish and African American and Jewish heritage. But I am not a Jew. I am not an African. I am an American. And I will never, ever put my loyalties to those countries, whether they are sovereign inside the United States or out, above U.S. dedication to the United States of America, ever. And anyone that does not deserve to serve in Congress, does not have a right to serve as an elected representative for the constituents of the United States of America, period. Okay, so there's my retort.
Okay.
So you're wrong. And I respect you, but you're not right. Just because the Cherokee Nation declares something does not make it so. And just because you bring up some obscurity in 1853 is very much similar to the Three-Fourths Compromise, or Three-Fifths Compromise. It's very much to 40 acres and a mule. That someone makes a promise, and that ultimately that promise was not voted on or declared or pushed through Congress or did not go through committee, and therefore it's law. People have made promises throughout history to stop wars, to stop bloodletting and other things, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And unfortunately, the Native Americans got screwed over. There's no doubt the way that the United States treated Native Americans was 100% wrong. Do I believe that they should own channels in Montana and give it back to Native Americans? Yes. Do I believe reservations should not be some of the shittiest parts of lands that are essentially uninhabitable because they're desert? Yes. There's a lot of things that I disagree with the way Native Americans were treated. I don't believe assimilation should have been forced through the Catholic Church. I don't believe reindoctrination camps should have taken place. I don't believe tens of thousands of Native Americans should have been destroyed and killed if they didn't assimilate. I understand all of these things, and I have amazing respect for Native Americans and what they went through, but I am not going to sit here and say that they are entitled to special treatment anymore because the choices that they are making are their own. And you can't have it both ways. You can't say, I want to respect my culture and live on the reservation, and I don't want to move from the reservation where I have more opportunity, more basis to have the American dream. So therefore, I'm going to complain about it incessantly. I'm sorry.
You can't.
Okay,
no, you cannot complain.
Then you keep saying me. So you and the Native American tribes need to shut the fuck up about it. Or get off the res. That's it. That's it. Get off the res or own it. You've made your choice. That is what I'm trying to say. And I feel for them, but I have seen people leave from the res. I have witnessed the rejuvenating waters of Lake Minnetonka, and it's people leaving the res and creating and saying, Grandma, I love you. And elders, I love you, and I love our history, and I will be here for the powwow, and I will still do a sweat, and I still will respect, and I will still cleanse my home with sage, and I will have my dream catcher, and I believe all these things, and I'll have pictures of all of our ancestors, and I will do those things, but I'm going to do it away from the res because, my God, I cannot grow here. I cannot fall into the same trap that generations of Native Americans have because we are dying. That's all I'm saying.
And I see your point on this.
Okay, but I've been saying this when you're not on the phone. And this isn't our first time talking about this. I'm not an anti-immigrant. I'm not an ethnocentric focus on your diversity and who you are. I honestly, do you see my wall? I love history, and I think Native Americans are a beautiful and amazing people, but they were also violent, and they were slave traders, and they murdered and raped with as much lust as white men. And for anyone to say they didn't, they're lying. And thank you for all the donations. Thank you guys for getting us there. I love you. Thank you, Bobby. And I didn't even see the last one who did it. But Mel, you don't have money to give. Damn it, don't. All right, Elizabeth, you get last word. I give it to you. You get 1 minute. Go ahead, sister.
Well, I agree with you about what you said. And if they've got to make a decision. And I'm going to tell you that it's not that bad on the res because I just had to move back to the res again because I'm losing my job.
Yes.
But
I'm sorry that you lost your job.
It's being disabled is worse than being anything.
Yes, ma'am.
But this is just one of those things that you have to make a decision. Where can you survive? What do you have to do for survival? And in the end, it's really not that bad being on the res, but at the same time, I want to grow bigger and better than what I am right now. But it cannot happen on somebody else's sweat. It needs to be your own choice, your own place. And if you want to go for government, choose your government wisely.
Yeah,
run for that government.
Choose.
And if you want to be in the American government, that should be your first and foremost. But if you want to be Native, have that be your
Elizabeth,
first and foremost. But you've got to make a choice.
Can I go on to the res right now and run for office?
No, you cannot.
Why? Wait, why?
Because you are not Native.
But okay, well then you're not an American.
Well, I am.
No, you're not.
My dad fought for this country.
Don't care. You say I can't be a Native, you can't be an American.
Well, I wish I could have one of your grandparents be a Native. It's like being a Greek for you.
No, it's not. See, the difference is that the difference between our country and the Constitution of the United States is that you are an American because you were born and you are here, and you were either naturalized or you were born here, and you are accepted. You're the only ones who are being ethnocentric. You guys claim that we're racist and prejudiced. You're fucking racist and prejudiced. Your policies of not having American citizens be able to run on the tribal council or not be a part of government is racist and prejudiced. You're included. You're allowed to be a dual citizen. You're allowed to go ahead and live on the res. You're allowed to influence American policy. I'm just saying you shouldn't be able to because you won't allow us to do it. So what you're saying is to Americans, fuck you. You have no right to tell us how to live, but we have every right to tell you. Do I have it right? So who are the real racists? Who are the real
I never
ethnos?
thought of that
Well,
way.
that's because nobody wants to talk about it. Do I believe that? No, I think it's an overly simplistic standpoint, and I think it's stupid, and it's ignorant for me to say so, but I'm trying to explain to you the way Americans feel. White people feel. People who are here who don't understand both sides. I understand both sides, and I'm telling you, you're both wrong. Both sides are wrong. People dismiss what Native Americans have gone through and the trials and hardships that they have been placed in, and that it is a systemic situation of revolving cycles of difficult living. And it happens in the ghettos too. But this is what happens. This is what happens with liberal policy. And honestly, it would have been more humane to wipe the Indians out completely. It would have been more humane. But we didn't do that. And that's why most conquerors kill everybody. Or they take the women and the children and they assimilate them to their culture and they kill all the natural men. Did I say that's what should have happened? No, but that probably would have been more humane than sticking them on plots of land that were not palatable to the U.S. government. And that's why they did it. They didn't get the nicest rivers. They didn't get the highest positions on land. They didn't get the west side, northwest side of the rivers and the mountains. They got places that were not palatable to the United States. That's not right. Okay, I agree. But you're choosing to live there now. You have choices. We have evolved. You are just like the Southern colonies. You have a choice. Yes, you're going to be 20 years behind the North. Yes, it is going to crush your economy. But we are the majority, and we are saying drop your slaves, and that's the way it is, and start embracing innovation and technology, and in 20 years you'll catch up. Or have a civil war, and we'll kill all your natural-born males, and we will assimilate your females, and we will set you back 75 years. It wound up being 150 years. And the South has finally stopped bleeding from their poor choices of slave labor to free labor to paid labor. And this set them back decades. Well, the Native Americans are in the same boat. And you guys are being stubborn and you need to let it go and you need to understand. Either get off the fucking res or have your culture. But you're probably not going to be able to immerse yourself in both. That's my point.
Okay.
All right. I love you. I appreciate you. You've watched my show. You've taken more shit from me than any other person on this show, except for Carrie Spricks. And I appreciate that you always come back. And I love that you can listen and make your argument and we can come to an amicable accord. I respect that about you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. How are you doing, though? Are you okay?
Losing my job has really taken me down.
What's it going to take? What's it going to take to get back? What do you got to do?
I've been applying for other jobs. I've been trying to do everything I can. I'm taking it to the EEOC because the white elephant's in the room. And I don't like it. You know I don't like to focus on the white elephant. You know what the white elephant is.
Yeah, I understand.
And the thing about it is it's the same as anything else. Being disabled is not the best way.
I know. I know. No,
And
I know.
It's been taken out on me. But I'm not going to let it get me down. I've got back to where I've got a good house now. It's on the res. And the price is good, but I'm not going to just stay here. I'm going to keep fighting.
Well, listen, real quick, Bobby Richardson. Come on, people. Can't we all get along? 103.48. Thank you for everybody who's helped us hit goal. And
Thanks.
let me just say this. I love Michelle. This isn't the first time Michelle and I disagreed on. She believes that I'm being insensitive to people's feelings. And I am letting you know I don't care about people's feelings. The only time I care about people's feelings is when we start talking about feelings, when I ask a question like, are you okay? Because then fact doesn't matter. And I disassociate myself from facts, and I want to know how you are. I care about Michelle. I care about you. I care about everybody. And I love you guys. And the fact that Mel gave money tonight, I want to fucking cry. Because if you guys knew what Mel was carrying right now, and Elizabeth, you've given money before when you can't afford it. I know how important it is. And that is a love that it's me talking to you about Native Americans isn't the same way that I feel about you when we're not. But I'm not going to not have a conversation, and I'm not going to not say what I think just because it's a hard day. Because I don't believe that's what you need. I think you need people to treat you the way you deserve to be treated, which is treat you like an intellectual and a person who thrives on logic.
Yes.
Not as a victim, not as somebody who's disabled. And you're not. And you're going to be fine. And you're going to survive. And you're going to find the right way to be. And you're going to find that happiness, Elizabeth. I believe that in you. I do. If there's anything I can do, if there's anything I can help with, if there's whatever, you can always reach out. You know that about me. Okay? All right, buddy.
So appreciate it.
I love you, Elizabeth. Hang in there. Hang tight. Okay?
Thanks. Love you too.
You got it. Bye. All right. So this is, listen. Do you guys remember when that Native American came on the show? And I believe they were a Seminole Indian from Florida. And this was like in the first 3 months of the show. And we went after each other live. But there was a point, there was this mutual agreement that we started seeing things together. And he started listening to what I was saying and going, you know what you're saying, what you're really saying is that you want people to take accountability. Yes, there it is. Accountability. I want people to stop blaming everyone else for their problems and realize that, yes, the Native Americans got a shitty deal. The Jews got a shitty deal. A lot of Muslims Kurds and Shias and Sunnis got shitty deals. Russians got shitty deals. Christians got shitty deals. Jews, Gentiles got shitty deals. Everyone throughout their history has had oppression in it. Everyone throughout their history has had days of starvation and days of enslavement. And all of those things are true. But none of it defines who you are. Your actions define who you are. And if you make other people's failures or successes your mantra and define it as who you are, you'll never move forward. What I'm saying is that the Native American people in this country need to take ownership for who they are and how they got there. And it may not have been easy, but it wasn't easy for the Aboriginals in Australia. And look at where they're at. There comes a time when we have to say, okay, this happened. Wasn't fair, wasn't right, but it's not Matt's fault, it's not Elizabeth's fault, and it's not Glenn's fault, and it's not Mel's fault. That I have to take responsibility for who I am. That's what I'm saying. Native Americans need to be responsible for who they are. Americans need to be responsible for who they are and the shadow that they cast. And right now, we're creating Native American tribes in foreign lands. We are supporting people who are being killed. And there are repercussions for that. And yes, Israel is justified in what it's doing and its sovereignty. And yes, Palestine is absolutely guilty of atrocities. But we are creating the next generation of victims, and we are creating the next generation of Native Americans who have been displaced, and they will seek retribution, and it will be violent and dangerous. And this never-ending cycle of mutual assured destruction between human beings, we better fucking figure it out. We better be the War Games Whopper computer and become self-aware sometime, because I'm telling you, we are not going to survive ourselves. It's not going to be global warming. It's not going to be an apocalypse from Christ. It's not going to be some super volcano that blows up in Yellowstone. Men will kill each other long before any of those things probably happen. Long before the celestial body burns out, we will annihilate each other if we don't fucking become self-aware and realize we're playing a never-ending game of tic-tac-toe and there is no winner. So what I'm asking people to do is to rise above the past, be reflective of the past, be aware of it in the present, but don't let it dictate your future. And if that's somehow prejudiced or racist, then fucking guilty is charged. I'm an opinionated human being, and I will not apologize for my opinion. That is where I'm at. Tomorrow might be a different story. A year from now, I might think of something different, and I might be like, Native Americans got it right. But now, no, I don't. I believe they have faults. I believe we have faults. I've seen the dental care on the res, okay? I've seen enough of it. And you know what I've also seen? I've seen people from the res come in who have 4 teeth in their head, who come to work for Apple, and within a 2-year period of time with the dental insurance that they get, have a full set of teeth. And it was a beautiful thing, multiple times. I've seen people who are Native American who do not have any glasses and can't see, and after getting on Apple insurance, do. I know people who have never owned a frickin' phone in their lives get an iPhone. And to see the smile on their face that they can communicate with people and communicate with loved ones and actually have a pot to piss in, it is a beautiful thing. But that was not given to them, and nothing ever will. And nobody gets anything for free. This is America. This is capitalism, and we are completely fine for 50% of the population to fail and the other 50% to have success. And no one is ever going to try to help you get out of the 50. It's up to you. But there will always be half of the country that fails. And that's why all boats rise at high tide. Because when the 50% elevates themselves into the top 75, the bottom moves and the top is challenged. And the middle gets to fall. And then they got to get themselves back up. But it's the best form of government and it's the best form of economics that we have. Because if you go anywhere else, 3% make it, 97% fail. Or 20% make it and 80% fail. Capitalism is the greatest economy on the planet, formed with a democratic republic. And 50% of the people in this country have a choice to do what they want to do to be successful. And honestly, truly, it's not that hard to be successful in this country. You may not get everything you want. You may not get a lot of people talk about my house and they go, look at that. Do you want to know what I fucking did for this? And do you know how hard it is to maintain and hold on to this? But if I let go of this, it'll be the biggest mistake of my life. My children can be raised in a neighborhood, one of the best places to live in the country. And yes, it is ungodly expensive. And I've wanted to move and I've wanted to downsize, but I can't. I can't for my future. And we have to make sacrifices. And there's things that I want a vacation. I want to take the kids on a cruise. We're not going on a cruise. I want to go on vacation. I want to go to Disneyland. I can't go to Disneyland because I have given them this house. So we'll go to Virginia Beach instead, and we'll go to Busch Gardens. Maybe we don't eat steak for a month. Maybe we have chicken instead and pork, and we're sick and tired of pork fried rice, and maybe we're sick and tired of having barbecue chicken. But guess what? It's okay. Because we have to make sacrifices. And those sacrifices were made when I decided to go ahead and eat top ramen for a week and have Wonder White bread with bacon, with an egg and a piece of cheese with some mayonnaise on it. And that was my dinner for 2 weeks. Because rent was $325 a month and it was too much and we couldn't survive. So we would rehash our cigarettes and we would go around the park and pick up cigarettes that were refries just so I could smoke. You make choices, you do things, and you don't, begrudgingly, you make it through. But the one thing that I've never received is a handout. I don't ever feel guilty. I don't feel guilty anymore about donations. I used to go to bed and I'd feel dirty and I'd be like, God, Olivia, you know what? We're offering a service. And there's something about this connective tissue in this show with our audience that they appreciate and love. And if they want to reward that with $10 or $20, then gosh darn it, good for them. And it's not charity because we work hard for what we do. It's 10:30 at night. I haven't seen my kids all day. Did a video today, wrote for today, got prepped for the show for today, worked my butt off, put on a few things in the new library and put some wall plates on and siliconed a few spots. And otherwise, it's been show all day. And you know what? You guys helped make it real. Well, I worked for it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with hard work. And people, you will find a way to get through. You are warriors. You come from warriors. Every country you come from has warriors, and you are the top of the best country in the world. And it's got its flaws, and it's not perfect, and it never was. And it was absolutely a petri dish inside of a test tube, and this formulated into something great. But we have to keep it. Benjamin Franklin said it best. We have a republic if we can keep it. And the only way that this country continues to grow is that if people continue to work, provide for their family, and grow their family to the best of the ability, and leave them better than they found them. And if we do that, we will continue to prosper. But I'm telling you, this whole thing of not being self-aware is going to kill us. All right. What state am I in? I'm in the state of denial. I'm in Virginia. Yeah, and those choices are much better than Disneyland. But you know what? My daughter and son want to see Harry Potter World. And they deserve that. And I'll give it to them. But right now, we're creating a network. And we've got a lot of things to do. And I don't have anyone to stand in the show for a week. That's where Damani's going to come in. That's where Leroy comes in. And everything has a plan. And you know what? We'll figure it out. But for 25, listen, it was always a progress. Like, I feel connected to you guys right now. And I'm telling you a lot of stuff that is about my life. And we have a shit ton of people on still. But it wasn't always like this for me. I didn't have a house like this. But I worked my ass off for it. And there's people who, are like, oh, you're in your mom's basement. And I just giggle. I laugh. I'm living in a dream house. But I don't even have a car because I've made that choice to make sure my kids have the best schools and the best place to live that's safe. And I will do this for another 5 or 6 years. And the day that my son graduates high school, we're selling this fucking thing. I'm selling it for $1.2 million and I'm leaving. And I'm going and building my own cabin, and I'm going off the grid with the best Wi-Fi in the world, and I'm going to broadcast from there until I'm 65, and the show will change. The show will change. It'll be a chrysalis, and it will turn into something else. Maybe it's more of me reading. Maybe it's more of me going on site, or maybe it's me sharing a story in front of a fire, or maybe it's not podcasting at all. Maybe it's me hosting other people. But whatever it is, it will change. You have to change along with it. No, I'm not in. Dude, Brian, I'm in Northwestern Virginia. That's about as far as I'll go. All right, folks, I can't thank you enough. Now, first of all, donations are awesome, and I love you, and I appreciate you, and thank you. Remember, it's not about doing these $100, $200 donations. $10 makes a difference. $5 makes a difference. And if we all have an ability to pitch in, that's great. And I thank the ones who did tonight. It was incredibly generous, and I love you and I appreciate you. Michelle, I wish the absolute best. I'm just not going to talk through chat anymore. You got to call in because too much is being missed. And I don't know who you're talking to. I don't know if you're talking to me or if you're replying to someone else. I don't know whether I should be offended or I should give you a hug. So don't do that. You don't talk like you're from Northern Virginia. Northern Virginia is one of the most profitable counties in the world. Ashburn area is one of the safest, highest education, one of the most expensive to live in. It's been rated it's been rated the #1 best place to live in the United States for like 3 years running. But I'm not from Virginia. I'm from California and Texas and New Mexico and Japan and other places. Beefy says, are you okay? Is asked 100% genuine, and I love this. I love people, and I love the people on this show. And even though I don't treat you perfectly, and sometimes I snap and get frustrated, I still love you. Writing articles is one of your strongest talents. Well, I'm doing them every morning. I'm doing them on video now, and I'm reading. And it's great. I can't wait to do the next of Quiet Honor. I think that's what I said. I think that's the name of the show. I love that. I love talking about history, and I've already got the next one written. It's about, I can't tell you who it's about, but it's great. It's great. It's great. It's a great show. And I love writing. I just don't have the time, and it doesn't pay anything. And I hate to say that. Damani said that the other day, and I almost cried. Damani's like, I can't do this because it doesn't pay me anything. I'm like, oh my God, that sucks. That sucks. Because, oh, Matt's moving to gay North Dakota? Yeah. Yeah. Angela, I understand. My parents bought their home for $11,000 in California. They sold it for $475 20 years later. I got my house here for $630,000. And it's almost twice that now. And I got lucky. Luck, it's not lucky. It's not luck. It's literally you put good things into the world and it comes back to you. And you can call that Christianity, you can call it karma, you can call it voodoo, you can call it whatever you want. But spirituality is essential for success. I believe that more than anything else. And when people say, will you pray? I never before this, like when people would say I need a prayer, I wouldn't pray. Not on this show, but before that. And there were for 2 years people would say, I need a prayer, and I wouldn't be the one who would pray because I didn't believe that my relationship was close enough to ask God for anything. And that was my own naivety. But now every time somebody says I need a prayer, I stop what I'm doing. I don't care what it is, and I stop and I pray. And it feels weird still. It feels like God knows that maybe I don't 100% buy into this. But I'm believing more and more every single day. And I trust it, and I feel closer to God than I've ever felt in my life. And that to me is success. It's very important to me to have that. I would love to live in Montana. Thank you, Patricia. I love that you love that. Thank you, Matt and everyone. Love you guys. See you tomorrow. Hey, Jen, thank you. Yeah, well, we've got another morning video tomorrow, but wait for this weekend. Saturdays is going to be fun. It's going to blow you away. It's a really good one, and you're not going to know who it is until the end, and then you're going to be like, oh, that's a head fake. It's fun. I hope I didn't hurt anybody's feelings tonight. I hope there's no Native Americans that go, Matt hates me. I don't fucking hate you. I want the Native American people collectively to be strong, and I want you guys to represent 10% of the population. You know what would make me more happy than anything? If Native Americans started having families, large families, and just expanding their influence in this country and getting off the res and making them better, sending money back to the res and doing development projects and whatever it could be, or replacing portions of the res by buying new properties, or getting out of the casino games and trying to find another way to revolutionize and innovate the next big thing. That's what I want. Well, Elizabeth, you need prayers. I promise to do it. All right, buddy. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow, 7 o'clock. It's going to be Olivia and I and Amy. She'll be in the house. Next week, T.S. Dixon will be sitting right here. We get T.S. Dixon live. I got to decide whether I'm going to do a setup with a chair where we can sit across from each other or what. But I cannot wait for T.S. Dixon to be in this house. The guy's so fucking smart. I wish that we could have Mr. Good and TS and I here. That would be awesome. Matt, you speak so beautiful. I always thought you should write a book. I'm working on it. You love us. Listen, I genuinely like every single person who we talk, even the ones that frustrate me, because you're valuable. You're something we want. What I can't stand are people who come in here and fly by and don't take anything away from the show. I can't stand those people because they're so cynical. They're so obtuse. They're so jaded that they can't come in here and say, all right, maybe this isn't Joe Rogan or maybe it isn't this, but there's something about it. There's something there that I can take away from it. And I truly believe every single person can take something away from this show if they just have the courage to invest and give it a try. So we'll talk about it later. All right, everybody. I appreciate you. Love it. I had to go see my family. Good night. Thank you for all the compliments. Thank you for everything you do. Mel, I know she doesn't hate natives. Mel's had a bad fucking day. Cut Mel slack. Cut Mel a little slack. She's had a bad day. She needs prayers too. She won't ask for it. Give her prayers. She's the most selfless human being I've ever met in my life. She doesn't want anything. She does. Bobby wants me to have an Oregon flag. Even she wants something from me. Mel doesn't want anything. And whenever I try to give anything, she refuses to take it. She will not take anything from me. Bobby wants me to like Oregon. Not a fucking chance. See you guys tomorrow. Good night.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me show with your hosts, Matt.
Love you guys too. Thanks,
Amy,
Loretta.
And Olivia. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on all major social media channels at The Dumb Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.